Live from Chatterbox Sports Studios, it's Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman.
Well, good morning, and a pleasant good Wednesday morning to each and every one of you. Welcome to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. I'm Thom Brennaman, joined, of course, as always, by Casey McAllister and Paul Fritzner. Gentlemen, good morning. The chat already alive and well, and apparently you are responding to those in the chat, Casey, donning the Viking helmet.
I give the people what they want, Tom. Until the magic runs out, you might as well keep wearing the helmet, right?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Boy, do you look ridiculous in that thing.
I feel like a true Viking. You know, the only thing that would make this day better, or just this series in general, is if we got Leif Erikson to come back.
Ooh, probably need a sweep for that. I bet Leif Erikson would come back in the chat with a sweep. I don't want to speak for him, but I bet he would.
Does anybody know him personally?
Leif Erikson?
Yes.
You think I go back that far?
I don't know. I mean, you never know.
He lived like 600 years ago.
Okay. You
Maybe
know what
Christopher
I'm talking
Columbus
about.
does.
I mean, can anybody out there, any of you out there, reach out to him? Maybe in a text or whatever it might be, email. If you know how to contact him, call him. We need him back. We want him back, right? Not just when Kirk Cousins shows up.
Right.
Because you are standing for his people.
I am.
The Norse.
The Norse. Norse up.
All right, we come your way Monday through Friday, 10 to high noon Eastern time. A little bit shorter show here today. Going to cover a number of topics. You can find us, of course, on YouTube/Chatterbox Sports. You can download us in podcast form. Just search Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman and you're dialed in. Now, look, show of hands. How many of you threw in the towel after the Reds went down 6-0 last night? Gentlemen?
I got to be honest, I didn't. I got to be honest.
Come on.
I got to be honest.
We're all about truth and justice in the American way here on
No,
Off the Bench.
legitimately, I was sitting there watching, and it was 6-0, and I was sitting there watching, and I thought to myself, do I want to go downstairs and change to the NBA playoffs? And I thought, no, we saw something cool last night. I'm going to ride this one out. I'm glad I did. I stuck with it.
Well, I'm raising my hand, okay? I mean, come on. Martin Perez was cruising along right through 6 innings, barely even broke a sweat. But as we like to say, when that bullpen door opens, you never know what's coming out of that bullpen and what might happen. And I got to tell you, I know the Rangers came in here red hot, but they remind me a lot of the Rangers from years past. They can hit, and their pitching is just not going to do it over the long haul. I might be wrong. We'll see. But this bullpen, watching it the last 2 days, stinks. Now, that doesn't take away anything what the Redlegs pulled off. They scratch out a run in the 7th, and then comes the 8th inning. They get a walk. They hit batter. They get 5 hits, including a 2-run single by Jonathan India in a 6-run 8th inning. And when it's 7-6, that means, Casey, since you've already donned the helmet, they will go for the sweep against Texas today. First pitch at 12:35, John Gray against Graham Ashcraft, as we like to say, especially after watching last night, fellas.
Tickets are available.
Tickets are available.
Very interesting column written today on Cincinnati.com by Jason Williams about the attendance.
I haven't read it yet. What was it?
Oh, boy. I mean, you know, they had the game last week, all-time low, 7,000, whatever it was, 8,000 the last couple of nights. It's down over 1.2 million from the year they opened the ballpark. Articles about generations of fans that have been lost because they're not winning. It is a very interesting article. Tampa Bay, no problems for them at home. I mean, nobody comes to watch. But last night, the first time they lose a home game this season after 14 straight wins. That's a modern-day major league record. Houston blanked the Rays 5-0. What a night in the NBA playoffs. And you said you kept with it on the Reds 6-0.
I did.
After some of the games last night.
Right.
Phoenix Suns close out the LA Clippers 4-1, 136-130. Devin Booker pours in 47. Meanwhile, top seed Denver beats Minnesota to take a 4-games-to-1 series win there. So that means starting this Saturday, what a series. Phoenix v. Denver. That might be the best series we see in the playoffs this season. Agree or disagree?
I'm trying to think in the East, maybe.
Nothing's going to be more firepower, more exciting than that, right?
I mean, you're looking at the MVP
KD.
more than likely.
Yeah, KD, Devin Booker, Jokic.
I mean, that's big
It's high-level
series.
stuff, yeah.
Trae Young scores 38, leading Atlanta to a Game 5 win over 2-seed Boston. The Celtics lead 3-2. Tonight, the Knicks, the Lakers, and Miami can close out series. Knicks trying to close out Cleveland. And a pivotal Game 5 tonight in Sacramento. The Kings and the defending champion Warriors, even at 2 games apiece. In the NHL, the Islanders, Stars, and Oilers were all winners last night. Tomorrow night, we've been counting it down, and we'll do so again today. The NFL Draft. And how crazy is this Will Levis story? I mean, it started to shake down when we were on the air yesterday. Days ago, Levis had been taken off the board. You couldn't even bet for him to be the number 1 pick because he was such a long shot. Now, he's being taken off the board due to action created by one post on something called Reddit. One post, one social media post sends the entire gambling world off the reservation.
I saw the post, yeah.
So we're going to get into that. We'll talk about it shortly. There were a number of mock drafts done today, the most recent in The Athletic. We like that publication, and we'll get into that whole thing. They did a big article today about the quarterback situation and you know, is anybody buying this whole this Levis thing? I mean, I'm going to give you some numbers about Levis a little bit later on that my son was kind enough to point out to me last night that would have me as one executive saying, way too scary to take that guy. But more on that in a bit. The big story, though, the Redlegs. I mean, they were swept over the weekend, joined by the Hall of Famer, my dad, Marty Brennaman. Dad, it was ugly on Sunday afternoon. You go to Pittsburgh, you get swept 4 games in a row. You're coming back to play the Rangers. And all of a sudden, it's back-to-back wins, including last night's wild comeback.
Can I make a point before we start talking about baseball?
Whatever you'd like. This is your time.
See, this is the way you've got to open the show with me from now on. Do you have anything you want to say before I get into what I want to talk about?
Okay, fair enough.
I know I check in with you guys early, and I listen to your opening comments, and I hear you talk about what a great series comes up beginning Saturday night between Denver and Phoenix. You don't even watch a damn NBA.
No, I have been watching it since this playoff series started. You're right. I mean, during the regular season, I don't watch it. I'm not sure how many people watch it. Their numbers were in the tank this year.
I know they are. I mean, I would never even go in there and say, what a great series. I'd say for you people who like the NBA, you might think about watching it.
Well, I'm going to watch some of that series. I mean, I think the games in the East, they remind me of sort of slug it out, you know, defense.
Yeah.
You know, they're a little more wide open out west, and especially with Denver and Phoenix. Is there any team you're actually rooting for in the NBA playoffs, or do you care one iota?
Well, you know what? And I will say this. I am a big Steph Curry fan and have always been one. And so when you talk about a pivotal Game 5 tonight, if I can, you know, this 80-year-old body can stay up long enough to watch it, I'm going to attempt to watch a little bit of that. I know I won't be able to get through it all. But I'll probably watch some of that, and I'll just screwing with you. Once it gets down to the nitty gritty, there will be some I watch because as little interest as I have for the NBA during the regular season, I think the finals. You talk about leaving it all on the floor. Those guys do that when they get down to the 7 games to decide the NBA championship. Then there are no holds barred in that series. And I find that very entertaining, depending upon who's involved in the championship final. You know, I don't know anything about Denver. I know very little. When Phoenix traded Cam Johnson, I said to hell with him. I don't care about him anymore. But Devin Booker is a special talent. That kid can really play, and he's fun to watch play. So I may watch some of the when Phoenix is involved. I'll watch some of that because I like the way they play. And you and I go back a ways. We both knew Cotton Fitzsimmons, who I thought was one of the coolest people I've ever met in my life. God rest his soul. So I'll watch a little bit of that. Yeah. And one more thing before we talk about the Reds. You have a very, very devoted listener and watcher to this program, and that is Dr. Peggy LeMaster, who is a doctor of Amanda's and also is a doctor of Polly's. And she watches this show religiously. She'll watch it at night after she has her practice during the day, but she never misses an opportunity to watch it. Big fan of yours, big fan of the Reds, and I God bless her.
God bless her. She's a beautiful lady, got a beautiful soul, beautiful way about her. And so, Doc, thank you very much. It's good to have you. Welcome back. Before we get to the Reds, though, I do have to ask you one more basketball question because we've talked a little bit about LeBron James at times and doing that whole thing that everybody likes to do, comparing him and Jordan and on and on and on and on. But, man, I mean – that Dylan Brooks dude picked a wrong guy. When you talk about poking the bear, I mean, what in the world is somebody thinking about poking LeBron James? And you've seen what happened since. And then I'd like to hear your comments about Brooks ducking the media after LeBron went for 20 and 20 the other night.
Well, I'm sure the University of Oregon is very pleased and proud of Dylan Brooks. You don't mess with a guy like Michael Jordan. You don't mess with a guy like LeBron James. You let them play their game, and if they go out and get 40 against you, that's because he, in this case, is a great player. And he can pretty much do whatever he wants to, when he wants to, against whoever he wants to during the course of an NBA game. And so whatever Dylan Brooks was trying to accomplish by the low blow that he administered to LeBron James, I don't get it. And then to dodge the media, again, I'm sure Oregon is proud of this wonderful representative of our institution and screwing up not once but twice, messing with LeBron James, and then not having the guts to face the media and talk about it. No, I don't have a whole lot of faith in him, and I can't wait to see what happens. Now, that's something that will be interesting to watch now. Because I'll tell you one thing, LeBron James handled that thing with as much class and dignity as you can possibly handle a situation as sensitive as that one was.
No doubt about it. And they'll have a chance to close him out tonight. All right, on to the Reds now. Look, I mentioned that, they get swept over the weekend against the Pirates. It was ugly. They couldn't score. They still haven't hit a home run in over a week and a half. But last night's game, I mean, it was a lot like before the 4 games in Pittsburgh. Well, where at least they do show some toughness about them and not throwing in the towel. And I always say there's a lot to be said for that kind of attitude, whether you're winning or losing, is you're continuing just to compete.
No, I agree 100%. And I watched a game last night, and when they fell behind like they did, and Luke Weaver had a bad start, you figure, here we go again. But then to come back and play like they played and having the big 8th inning and then winning the game in the manner in which they did, excuse me, it was very, very impressive. I give them a lot of credit. The bullpen delivered when they had to, and that's been one of many shaky areas on that ball club. I tip my cap to them. I mean, Texas is Texas. I think Texas has a terrible bullpen.
Yep.
And for anybody to consider that they're going to be an impact player in their division is delusional, unless they can figure out a way to improve it, because their bullpen is pretty bad. But, give the Reds their just due to come back from a 5-1 deficit on Monday night, come back from a 6-0 deficit last night to win the game, and now go for a sweep with the best pitcher currently in their starting rotation and Graham Ashcraft, I'd say, yeah, you give them a lot of credit for what they've accomplished the last couple of games.
Nick Lodolo was roughed up for a second straight outing, and I mean really roughed up. They asked him about it, and he says, hey, look, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know why it's happened. Is there cause for concern?
I don't think so. I really, truly do not think there's any cause for concern. I think he's going through what all good pitchers go through. And I think I guess he's had a problem with his breaking ball in those two games, handing it for strikes, and because the guy's got a great breaking ball, and he's not been able to, he's fallen behind in hitters. He's not gotten ahead with strike one. I think the last start he got ahead of the count on 12 of the 21 batters that he faced. Well, I don't care who you are. You can't win like that, but I don't have any concern about him. I think the guy's a complete pitcher, and I think he's just going through a problem that a lot of guys, especially young pitchers, go through once they get to the big leagues.
You know, you brought up the bullpen, and all of a sudden, after all their struggles early in the year, if I'm not mistaken, they're ranked in the top 3-4 now in earned run average in the entire National League. It's interesting because the starters' ERA, and I know we're only a couple of weeks into the year, so the sample size is very small, and the Reds' 4 and 5 starters that began the year are no longer in the rotation. But the starters' ERA is one of the worst in Major League Baseball, and now all of a sudden the bullpen is among the best.
Well, we'll see how long that lasts. And granted, they pitched well lately, and God bless them for that, because this team doesn't rank high in any area other than, as you say, the bullpen ERA. They don't hit home runs. Their infield defense is abhorrent, especially, and I was quoted a figure yesterday that their infield, their double play combination, defense up the middle is, I don't know whether it's worst in Major League Baseball, but it's 1 or 2 or 3 spots from the bottom. And they don't hit for average. They don't hit home runs. Their starting pitching, as a general rule, has not been good because of the 4 and 5 starters for the most part and Lodolo's recent problems. And so they have to show marked improvement in other areas if this club is going to come back and perform better in 2023 than they did in 2022. You have spurts like they're having right now. The key to a spurt like this is to have more of them and have less of 4 or 5 or 6 game losing streaks. That's the only way you're going to show any improvement whatsoever. And I know the clamoring continues now. If you look at Twitter or any of the other social media that displays opinions by fans of getting Matt McClain up here, and I think they're jumping the gun and screaming for Ellie Dela Cruz to be brought up here. A little bit early for that. And I think there's still the question looms large, and it gets bigger and bigger every day, is when Joey Votto is going to be able to play in the big leagues in 2023.
You bring up an interesting point, and as far as, these young players, McClain specifically, there is no way the Reds can continue to play India as a second baseman. Now, he's just a bad defender. He's a gamer. He's a tough guy. He's a good offensive player. Yes. There are a lot of things to like about India. Defense is not near the top of the list. But you and I both know, and we've talked about this before, I think the Reds did a tremendous disservice to Nick Senzel after they drafted him. And I'm not saying that the issues he's gone through, and most of them have been primarily due to injury, but when you draft a kid, and in India's case, they drafted him as a third baseman, coming out of Florida, they moved him to second base. In Senzel's case, they draft him as a third baseman out of Tennessee. They moved him everywhere, and he's still moving around. But, do you think that they would be willing to say, okay, if we're really going to look at our long-term plan to be competitive sooner rather than later, we need to start moving pieces now. In other words, you bring up McClain, maybe you play him at second. Barrero still plays short. You move Senzel out into left field. Indy out into left field, things like that. You think there's any chance we see that kind of musical chairs, for lack of a better word?
Well, I think the chances become bigger if they fall back and they start to lose games with tremendous regularity, like they did last year, and way they did until they broke this losing streak with 2 wins over Texas in a row. I think then you have to consider situations, and I don't disagree with you one bit about Nick Senzel. No question. It's hard enough to get to the big leagues, but then to leave a college program, a high-profile program like he was in, and you come and the first thing they do is make you change positions, and then they move you around from the infield to the outfield, and they go back and forth. I don't think they did him any fault by doing that. And I agree with you about Jonathan India, but I think that down the road we get into months 3 and 4. We'll see what they do in terms of one going down and bringing guys up from Louisville, and or start to move people around because of that. I don't disagree with you at all about moving India off of second base. He's not a good defensive second baseman. He does not have great range at that position, and I think he's the kind of guy that could benefit from maybe going, as you say, to left field and playing out there. Let's face it, they've got a bunch of good young ball players right now performing at the current time very well. But let's be honest about this thing now. On a good ball club, how many of these guys would be regulars to begin with? Well, let's be honest about this now. Stevenson, probably. India, but not at second base. And who else would be an everyday player on a really good ball club on this team right now? I don't see too many. I mean, I like Friedel in the outfield. I like Fraley, but you got to ask yourself the question. On a ball club that's an impact team in any division of baseball across the board, or a team that has realistic expectations of being in the postseason, how many of these guys are everyday players? You got to look at it that way.
Well, there's no doubt about it. That is a perfectly logical assessment of the entire situation. I don't know if you put much stock in it. I don't know if you saw the column written today by Jason Williams at Cincinnati.com.
I didn't read it. I saw the headline.
Okay. I mean, look, you take away the record-setting opening day crowd. And, man, I mean, you're looking, they're averaging right around 15,000. They averaged over 17,000 last year. They're over 1.2 million fans below where they were when the ballpark opened. They haven't won in a long time. I mean, when you're seeing 7,000, 8,000 fans at a game, what's Marty Brennaman think about that?
Well, I think when you run into a series of losing years, and it's been however many years since you've last been in the postseason, I think fans have it in their mind that, well, here's another bad year for the Reds, and next year, unless something miraculous occurs, is going to be another, quote, rebuilding year. At the heart of it all, Tom, fans are front runners, and it's no less true in Cincinnati than it is everywhere else. I looked at a game the other day with the Chicago Cubs playing, and they had more empty seats than you could shake a stick at. And this is the same bunch of people that prided themselves on being the best baseball fans in the world. That's a bunch of crap. If they win, they'll come. If they don't win, they're not going to come. And that's a sad but true tale. And you can do whatever you want to do. I'll never forget, as long as I live, when I came here in 1974, one of the guys that was instrumental was a guy that was heading up the marketing department named Roger Rule. Roger is still alive and still here in Cincinnati. God bless him. And Roger Rule was the one that made the comment to me that has stuck with me through all these years. The greatest promotion that a team can have is to win on the field. There is no better promotion than that. And if you don't win, you got a problem. So, I think that's exactly what they're going through right now. If the day comes down the road when this ball club is feared by other teams that have to play them, and they are a contender for the Central Division Championship or whatever the heck it might be by then, then I think you'll see people returning to Great American Ballpark to watch this team play. But I just think that you can have all the bobblehead nights you want to have, or all the cap giveaways, or all the bat giveaways, or whatever you have. But if you don't win, they're not going to show up.
Well, in the column, it went on to point out, and I like reading Jason Williams' stuff, is, that now we've seen, and Paul and Casey and I have talked about this, that, you've seen not only one generation, you've seen 2 generations nearly of fans that have never seen the Reds win a playoff series.
Correct.
I mean, that. Yeah, and I get what you're saying about if you win, they'll come back. But, I don't know where all this is going. I really don't. And they have to be extremely concerned down there on Joe Nuxall Way, but that's a different conversation for another time. So I guess I will see you. Casey, you wanted to invite my dad to your wedding.
Right. So I plan on giving Thom your invitation to give to you on Friday. But I also have I have one question for you, Marty. I don't know if we ever talked about it with you, but the Viking helmet thing, right? I've been wearing.
Put it on, Casey. Put it on when you talk to him, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I've been wearing this, and they've been winning since I've been wearing it. So I feel like it's got some sort of good luck charm or
Good juju.
Some good juju, at least for now. Do you think I should continue to wear this if they keep winning?
Casey, you'd be excommunicated from the Viking clan if you put that stupid helmet on. You simply, it doesn't work for you. It doesn't. You don't look like a Viking. You know what I mean?
He would if he took off his glasses, though, Dad. If he took off his glasses, he kind of does look like a Viking.
That's better now.
Yeah.
Now that's a better deal right there. That's a better deal. You know what? If it were me, I would not wear that helmet. But since it's you, I would make sure I wore that thing the next time I went to Kroger.
To Kroger?
Yeah, if you want to go grocery shopping with your bride-to-be, or you go by yourself, you go in there and you play it low-key, and you just push that cart around each aisle, and you don't say anything to anybody, and see how many people comment about that thing you got on your head. And then get back to me and let me know.
Do you think he should consider wearing that at his wedding reception?
I think it would be spectacular. I mean, I'd stand up and applaud if you did that. And I'd say there's a man with incredible conviction, to the point where all the things that are accepted as important and necessary in the nuptial ceremony, for one split second, all that stuff goes out the window because you're going to wear your Viking helmet. I think that's huge. I really am impressed by it.
I mean, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wear it, and then during the reception afterwards, I'm going to put mead and drink from the helmet.
There you go.
You're going to what?
I'm going to put beer in the helmet and drink from the helmet.
Oh, no, that's fine. Yeah. What does Paulie think about that?
Oh, I'm all aboard. In fact, Marty, I say that if the Reds hit their win total, 66 this year, we got a picture of you from Disney with the Mickey Mouse hat on. I say you throw the Viking hat on.
Yeah. Get the Viking helmet.
Well, you know what? What we ought to do, if they do that, you and I'll pose for a picture, and you wear the Viking hat, and I'll wear the Disney cap, and then that'll be a great picture.
That's big league.
There we go. That's big league.
That's big league.
Yep.
That's a deal.
Okay.
Well,
that
his
works.
wedding is the day of the Ohio Division II Lacrosse State Championship game. I told Casey I am hoping we are not at his wedding. Should Marymount get there yet again for the 11th, 12th time, whatever it might be. But if they're not there, then, I'll be there. I don't know if you have other plans, but to see him in that
What's
helmet,
the date again?
That is June the 3rd. That is a Saturday, June the 3rd. Yes.
All right. Answer one more question for me. What time is Luke's lacrosse game tonight?
7:30 p. Rivalry week. Ooh. Marymount v. Indian Hill tonight.
Ooh.
All right. I'll be there.
Big league game. Preview of the regional final, perhaps. All right.
We hope
I'll
so.
see you there tonight.
All right, pal. Good seeing you guys. Take care. Have a good week.
We love you. Talk to
Marty.
you soon.
Love you too.
Case, there you go, buddy. A picture with you and the Hall of Famer. Him wearing the Mickey Mouse lid, you wearing the Viking lid. Does it get any better than that? And on that note, Ham and Eggers, before we're joined by Tony Grossi from Cleveland to talk about the draft and all things that are Browns. Love the Brownies. Right, Case?
They still stink.
All right, Ham and Eggers. Mr. President, take it away.
It's that time of the show, the Ham and Eggers. These guys are great. Trust me, I would know. I introduce all the best segments.
We are going to talk plenty about the Browns, the Bengals, everybody else here on the show, especially today, tomorrow, Friday, the NFL draft tomorrow. And the Bengals Report is brought to you by Encore Technologies. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing models to improve efficiency and
productivity.
That's right, Casey. Visit Encore.tech. The path to innovation begins here. Also, we have to talk about the new premium alkaline water. It's Pani. Tastes fantastic. And it's made right here, right across the street, Hamilton, Ohio. Pani uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that many other brands use. The result is a healthy alkaline water that is also the best tasting water in the world. Visit their website at paniwater.com. That is P-A-H-H-N-I water.com. P-A-H-H-N-I water.com to see where you can buy this great tasting water. Drink Pani water, get your coffee from UDF, bet with Betfred, and get your technology solutions from Encore.tech. We did have originally Mary Kay was supposed to come on today. Apparently she had another conflict this morning, and so we have Tony Grossi on to talk about the Browns this morning instead.
Nothing further than that.
Make sure that you subscribe to the show, like this video right now. We have 71 people watching, but we only have 20 likes. We can get that like number up. I know some of you watch it on your smart TVs or on your phones or whatever it might be. Wherever you're watching, if you can like the video, make sure you go like it. If you want to listen to this show back later, you can in podcast form. Search Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman on any podcast platform. Also, any of the other Chatterbox shows. Chatterbox Reds the last two nights has been elite.
It really has been.
After their 2 7-6 wins for the Reds, Chatterbox Reds has you covered after every Reds game. They do the show on YouTube Live. You can listen back to that in podcast form the morning after. Make sure you go subscribe to all that. We have you covered in all areas there.
Yeah. One thing I want to talk about. Did you watch yesterday's Reds? The Reds show yesterday.
The show?
Yeah.
I watched probably about a half, 2/3 of it.
Okay.
Why?
I caught maybe the back. Well,
maybe we overlapped.
Yeah, I was able to finish it.
Okay.
And Trace has a elite form of bouncing the ball up off the floor.
Oh, yes, I did not see that.
Catching it and dunking it. And I think he needs to take some of the props that are around the room and start like stacking it so he has to jump over it and dunk it. I don't know what the chat thinks, but there's like a little ice cream stand that his daughter has. It's like a toy stand or whatever. I think he should put it underneath the basket so he has to jump over it and, like windmill dunk it or something. I don't know. We need some suggestions. We need to make sure that the people have plenty of suggestions for our boss, Trace Fowler. But other than that,
Tom, what time did you say Tony was joining?
10:40.
Okay, then I will save my thought.
What are you going to save it about?
Oh, I had a topic discussion, but it's longer than 5 minutes, so we can talk about it after Tony.
Well, I mean, let's start it, and we'll pick it up after he's done. What's the topic?
Okay, similar to the buy or sell segment.
Yes.
That that Casey and I have done on Box Lunch.
Right.
I'm gonna throw this one out there. Are you buying or selling that Deion Sanders?
Ooh, a lot going on there.
Well, that's why I said we got a lot to digest. And I also didn't want to put you on the spot if you hadn't read all about the situation, but I have been fascinated by this the last couple of days with everybody going to the transfer portal. Is Deion Sanders the Elon Musk of college football?
He is. He is. Leader of men. No doubt about it.
Just between polarizing in the media, the way this is all being covered, whether we don't know if it's going to be a success or not a success. I just, it's not a direct analogy, but it's something. Close. I was driving in this morning and I
think it's a great analogy, but look, here's the bottom line, and you tell me if you agree. So am I buying or selling? I'm buying. Okay? Because Deion Sanders is a winner. He's a winner in the game of life. He's a winner in the sport of athletics. The guy's a winner. Okay? He's been a winner as a coach. Granted, not on the major D1 level, but winner as a coach. Okay? He is doing this, and again, whether you like Deion or whether you like Elon Musk, that's not the debate here. If he's going to do this thing, he's doing it his way.
Yeah.
Right? Now, it may not be the right way, but if you're going to, the old adage, if you're going to go down swinging. And look, if I'm running that program at Colorado, what'd they win? One game last year?
Yeah, one game.
One game.
Yeah.
One game in the Pac-12. I mean, you ain't playing in the friggin' SEC or Big 12 or Big 10. That's the Pac-12, and you win one game. Nobody's job is safe on that deal. I saw with their leading receiver, both in receptions, 2 of them, right? Leading receiver in receptions and in receiving yards, both gone. Why would any of those guys be safe? Why? I guarantee he's sitting them down. He's saying, fellas, here's the deal. All right? And I guarantee you this happened before the spring game. Well, the one kid had a monster game in the spring
2 touchdowns.
Game. Yeah. I mean, I guarantee you he said, look, I'm going after anybody and everybody to upgrade the talent on this rotten team and this rotten program. You guys aren't old enough to remember. When I was in high school and college, and a guy named Bill McCarthy was the head coach at Colorado. Again, another guy, whether you liked him or didn't like him, irrelevant, okay? The guy did it his way, and they were kicking tail and taking names, playing for national championships. Eric Bieniemy, guys like this, I mean, they were just steamrolling people, playing with anybody and everybody. Colorado is a place you can win. I don't know what has happened to that program over the last 20 years, but they bottomed out last year winning one game. And now Deion Sanders is being given the chance, I guarantee you. He's sitting them down, man to man, and saying, fellas, I am going after anybody and everybody. Kid wants to transfer out of Ohio State, I'm going after him. Kid wants to transfer out of USC, I'm going after him. Kid doesn't like it at Alabama, I'm going after him. So your decision will be, if I can get these guys, do you want to stay here and compete, or do you want to go in the transfer portal?
It's just fascinating looking at Twitter and scrolling through and seeing so many people divided on it and saying, this is going to be such a dumpster fire. I'm going to be first row to watch all of this go up in flames. Can't wait to see this experiment fail. And then the other half of Twitter saying he's finally figuring out the transfer portal. He's telling guys they're not going to play. Everybody else is leaving. He's making the right decisions. He has all of this energy around the Colorado program now. He's brought back life into this Buffalo program. He's doing it all the right way. Can't wait to see his success. You're either on one side of the fence or the other. There's no middle ground here. And it's just fascinating to watch.
There's no doubt about it. And it is going to be incredible to watch as this moves forward. Because,
especially considering that UC, relative to Cincinnati, which is part of the reason I brought it up, is seeing the time-lapse video of what the Colorado spring game looked like last year versus what it looked like this year. It looked like almost a sold-out crowd.
It was sold out, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that for sure, but it sure looked like a sold-out crowd this year. And to think, UC was, I don't want to say they were right there in the running because I don't remember if they even really took a look at him. But they obviously hired a new coach this year. Coach Prime was right there. There was that discussion. Is he going to come to UC? Is he going to go to Colorado? Whatever's going to happen. Doesn't sound like UC ever really was in on him. But just relative to Cincinnati, it's interesting to look at too.
I think when this is all said and done, I have a lot of faith in Coach Prime, and I see Tony's dialing in right here in a second. But I really do feel like UC is going to regret not looking at Deion and giving him an actual legitimate chance to coach for this program. I think Deion what he's going to provide for Colorado is a complete clean slate and a upbeat, new age coaching style and program that you need to jumpstart something that was pretty much in the dumps, you know?
Well, I got to tell you what, if you look at what Satterfield is doing down there, now it's not as dramatic. But he's had a lot of guys all of a sudden that are pulling out of there and going in the portal. And make no mistake about it, if you believe what you read on some of the social media platforms, he is after anybody and everybody in that portal right now. So Satterfield might be going at it in a different way. There is clearly nowhere near the attention being given to UC football and Coach Satterfield that there is to Deion Sanders going to Colorado. But, again, if you believe what you read, and Satterfield apparently is doing a hell of a job on the recruiting trail. I mean, by all accounts, they've already landed a couple of big-time guys, two of the biggest recruits that they've had in the history of the program. He gets the Jones kid to come from Arizona State. If I'm a UC fan and you're bummed that you lost Luke Fickell, I would say so far, so good for Satterfield. So far, so good without having played a real game. And we know they're going into the Big 12 this year, and we'll see what happens. But they still have some talent there. Is Tony ready to go?
I'm trying to talk to him, but he doesn't seem like he can
hear
me.
Well, he said he was not. He said he was going to be in his car.
We have a good signal. It just doesn't look like he can hear us.
Okay. Well, for those of you that don't know, Tony Grossi is a born and raised Cleveland guy. He was a writer originally. He's been on the Pro Football Hall of Fame selection committee, but he's now well known for his work as a radio talk show host and covers the Browns on a number of different venues, ESPN Cleveland, thelandondemand.com, WKNR, WWGK is a radio sports talk show host, and he is, without a doubt, the most popular radio sports talk show host in Cleveland, and a pleasure on short notice to be joined by Tony. Tony, how are you, young man? Are you there? I thought I saw him up there for a second.
I'm still trying to get a hold of him.
Oh, because I see him there on the screen.
Well, he can't hear us, we don't think.
I don't think he can hear us.
He's there.
He's there, but he's...
Uh-oh. Now he's gone.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. Is there any way you can message him, Tom?
I just have his email, the same as you do.
All right, I'll email him.
I don't have his cell phone number. Okay, anyway, so hopefully we can get him dialed in because I'd like to hear what his thoughts are right now as far as the state of the Cleveland Browns are concerned on the eve of the NFL draft.
Casey's Cleveland Browns.
That's exactly right. Deshaun Watson now.
They stink.
Remember this time last year, the guy couldn't go in and work out, couldn't go in with his teammates. He did not play nearly the entire season before. In what would have been what was his last year in Houston. So, the guy went a year and a half without playing an NFL game, and once he came back, he did not look good at all. But I think every single one of us would agree, based on the body of work in his prior seasons in Houston, he is a top-tier quarterback talent on every level. We saw it at Clemson in college. We saw it in the NFL on some decent, turned bad Houston Texans teams. And now he's able to be all in, if you will, on the offseason program of the Browns and everything that they're trying to do up there. And they quietly have put together a very, very nice offseason. So I know you're still working on that, Casey. I don't know where that stands at this point. But let's pick back up for the time being this Deion thing. My question is when you start having all these guys leave and you're waiting on some guys come in, my concern would be if I'm a Colorado fan, right? How many guys am I going to have on my roster? Right? Who's in, who's out? I mean, nobody has done what he's doing right now. As far as guys leaving, trying to bring guys in. He's already brought a number of guys, including his own son, with him. A lot of people out there think that he's using this kind of thing as a stepping stone. I see no reason to believe that. Am I suggesting it couldn't happen? But I'm not seeing it. Some people out there say, well, he's trying to get the Florida State job, his alma mater. I've seen other people say he's trying to get a job in the National Football League. And I would have no issue even if he came out and said that. What's wrong with that? Right?
Yeah.
And he might just be the kind of guy that's going to admit it, but he has said all along he's right where he wants to be. And that's at Colorado. And we're going to see how that whole thing shakes out. I'm amazed by how many people, and let's be honest about it, it's only because of your politics, okay? I mean, you don't care about mine, I don't care about yours, right? But I'm amazed how many people, when you stop and think about the mind, the success, the risk-taking, you brought up the analogy Elon Musk. Not a perfect man. No one is perfect. But would you want your kid to be as successful as Elon Musk? I mean, if anybody answered that question, no, they're an idiot. They're an idiot. I mean, this guy is sending people to space on his own dime. He's an engineer. He's uber smart. He went to the best colleges. I mean, he has excelled at everything he has done. And here on the chat, we got people saying, guy's a bum. Why is he a bum? Because you don't like his politics? He's a registered Democrat. Right? And my guess is most of the people that don't like him are not the ones that would be registered Republicans. All of a sudden, his own party's flipped on him because he wanted to publish a bunch of stuff that the government was doing in relation to the FBI and the CIA. He just wanted to put it out there for everybody to read. And all of a sudden, he's a bum? Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. There's a reason why this guy is among the wealthiest and most successful human beings on the planet. So for anybody to say it's disrespectful to Deion Sanders to compare him to Elon Musk, I mean, come on. I'm not a big Musk guy as far as, anything he's got going one way or the other. But, I mean, I can tell you one thing. You and I both know. Would we want our kid to accomplish the things in their lives that he's accomplished? I mean, come on. Come on. Come on. Still no Tony, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he's there.
He told us that he was going to be in a car, and so that was going to be tough. He's got a radio show, and he's bouncing around, going down to the Cleveland, to the Browns, and a lot going on leading up to draft day. It looks like we're not going to get him, and that's fine. I do want to get into this Will Levis thing, because my son and I were having a conversation last night about Will Levis and this Reddit thing. Paul, you read the post on Reddit, correct?
Yeah, I was on Reddit and I saw it.
Could you please share where all this started?
Yeah, basically it was just one Reddit user that put a headline on a Reddit post that said that he had heard, I guess, from family that Will Levis was going to be drafted first overall, and then it got upvoted enough that it went all over the place, and the sports books took it off the board because enough traction got on it, and I guess enough people bet on it that they kept lowering the odds, and then all of a sudden they took it off the board. I don't know how much traction there is to it because it was just the one headline, but maybe Vegas did their own digging and their own research and figured it out.
Okay. My son and I were talking last night, and he brought up to me, he said, listen, this Levis thing. He said, have you ever really gone in and looked at his stats? And I said, well, a little bit. I know he's thrown 23 interceptions over the last 2 years. I know he couldn't beat out Sean Clifford Cincinnati kid, as a starting quarterback at Penn State, so he transfers to Kentucky, which is fine. I mean, everybody, you got to do what you got to do. Okay? So here's the thing about Levis, and I was looking at his stats because my son pointed out, he says, hey, how about that game he had against Tennessee? Threw for 98 yards and 3 picks. And I said to him, well, look, I said, Tennessee has a lot more talent than Kentucky has. I think Kentucky's building up a nice program down on the Stoops, but they don't have the players Tennessee has. He said, okay, that's fine. He says, do you think South Carolina has the same talent as Tennessee? I said, not a chance. He said, Levis and Kentucky scored 6 points he threw for fewer than 100 yards against Tennessee in a 44-6 drilling. South Carolina put up 60 points with Rattler at quarterback of South Carolina against that same Tennessee defense. Okay, one game. You go back and look at Levis's season last year. He had 3 300-yard passing games, 3 of them, okay? They were in the first 4 games of the year. He threw for over 300 yards against Miami of Ohio, Youngstown State, Northern Illinois. He had one other game the rest of the season where he threw for 230 yards. All the rest, fewer than 230 yards. He threw for 170 yards against Missouri. He threw for 109 yards against Vanderbilt. They lost the game to Vanderbilt. People are comparing him and C.J. Stroud. Now, again, talent level, I get it. Okay? Ohio State's offensive line, Ohio State's wide receivers compared to the same position groups with Kentucky. C.J. Stroud shredded Georgia's defense. Completely shredded that defense. Up one side and down the other, albeit in a loss, on a last-second missed field goal. But Stroud was off the charts. Will Levis against Georgia threw for 200 yards in the game. Threw a pick, sacked. Stroud ran for more yards against Georgia than Levis did, and that's a strength in his game. Now, I'm only bringing all of this up.
Wait. Sorry, go ahead.
No, something.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I only bring all this up because there's a lot of talk now that that someone's going to pick Levis ahead of Stroud. There are even some out there that believe Carolina is going to take Levis ahead of Bryce Young from Alabama. Is Tony there now?
Yep. All right, we're ready.
All right, good. Tony, we appreciate you being so patient. It is a pleasure to have you join us on such short notice. I know you're running around busy like crazy. How's everything up there in Cleveland, Ohio?
Well, Cavs are home tonight. Elimination game for them. A little trepidation there. The Guardians aren't doing so well lately, and the Browns don't have a pick until the 3rd round of the draft. So it's tough times right now sports-wise in Cleveland.
I got to ask you, though, about this the real quick before we get to the Browns, about the Cavaliers thing, because we talk about the NBA playoffs. I think a lot of people knew this was going to be a tough series, defensive-minded kind of a series. But what's the talk up there in Cleveland about what's happened so far, down 3-1?
Everybody's pretty disappointed. It's been a great Cavs season. 51 wins in the regular season, the most since, the post-LeBron eras. So everyone's pretty disappointed in the way they've played. Their big gun, Donovan Mitchell's had some really bad games, and they don't seem to. They're the lowest scoring team in the NBA playoffs right now, and so it's negating a really great defensive team, and everyone's disappointed, but optimistic that if they win this game, they might pull it together. Although they haven't won in Madison Square Garden all year long.
Okay, I want to shift gears to the Browns. We were talking before you came on. This time a year ago, Deshaun Watson comes over, couldn't get near the facility and all these kinds of things because of his suspension. Once he came back, a little more than midway through the year, didn't look so great. I would imagine, though, there has to be optimism about Watson getting back to the player he was in Houston. Is that safe to say?
Well, it's certainly safe to say, Tom, inside the building, the Browns are encouraged, optimistic, and any other adjective you want to use about Watson now being available from day one, without any threat of interruption of his season, no further suspensions. He'll resolve the one or two legal civil lawsuits against them, and it's more normal. And they've added to their team offensively with 2 veteran wide receivers in this offseason. So they are gung-ho, the team itself. There's a little hesitancy in the fandom to, be as optimistic. But listen, everyone in town knows that the Browns' season and their immediate future rests totally on the shoulders of Deshaun Watson.
How would you rate, Tony, their offseason so far this year?
Well, I think they did well when it comes to trying to surround Watson, with more speed. They picked up 2 veteran receivers and a tight end that he's familiar with from his years in Houston. The problem was, last year when Jacoby Brissett played 11 games as kind of like the replacement quarterback, he had his best year of his career, but the Browns were losing games because their defense and their special teams were just losing the games for them. Now, they changed coordinators at both of those areas, and I thought that was those 2 men, the new defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz, new special teams coordinator, Bubba Ventrone, probably will stand as the most important new additions to the team this year beyond any player. So if you draw them into their offseason, they've had a pretty good offseason, a very aggressive offseason.
Would you say that since they don't have a pick, first couple of rounds, they've traded all those away, what would be their goal? Is there a positional goal, where they're trying to find a guy to help most once they do finally have a pick?
Yeah, sure. They're pretty light at defensive end. They added one in free agency. They have Myles Garrett, one of their best players, but also at defensive end, but they still need kind of a third defensive end to help that rotation. And I think that's what they would earmark with the 3rd pick in the draft. That's number 74 overall. I still think there's a chance that they add another veteran pass rusher. There's another wave of free agency to come after the draft, the bargain basement phase. And I think they will seek to add defensive ends, but in the draft, I would pinpoint defensive end or defensive tackle. They've added a lot of defensive tackles, but I think they still feel they might need another one there. So anything on the defensive line, I would look for.
Okay, is it realistic or completely unrealistic to believe the Browns could compete with the Bengals, who look like the best team on paper? They've been the best team the last 2 years. Baltimore, if Jackson gets back. Any reason to believe they can compete with those 2?
Yeah, I do think that. First of all, Watson's got to resemble his former self. And, when you look at what happened to him last year and what happened to the Browns, to drop him from the sky in the 12th week of the season after not playing for 700 days, that was a tall task. The team never adapted to him, and Watson never shook off all the rust. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt there that Watson will be more close to his old self. But the other reason I say it's totally realistic is for some reason, even though the defensive coordinator has been fired and replaced, the Browns defense played Cincinnati and Baltimore extremely well over the last 2 or 3 years.
Yep.
And to me, the shortest path to the playoffs is winning the division. Don't worry about Kansas City or Buffalo or anyone else. And they've been close, even though the record has been 8, 9, and 7 and 10 over the last 2 years. They've competed against the best teams in their division pretty well. So I think that gap is narrower than it might appear. And that's why I think it is realistic if several things go right,
Last question. Is Stefanski on a kind of do or die season?
He'll probably appear on the 5 hottest seats in the NFL at the beginning of the year on those lists. I don't think he's at the top of that list. I think the ownership is trying to resist making another change. He's the first coach in 11 years in this ownership to even make it to a 4th season. 11 years, he's the only one to make it to year number 4 on his contract. And I think they also realize that he's still young and growing into the job. I think he's 40 years old, still one of the youngest coaches in the league. Nationally, he'll be on the hot list. I think it's hotter outside the building than it is inside the building.
Okay. Tony, we can't thank you enough for your time. Thank you for your patience today, and enjoy the draft. It's going to be fun the next few days.
Yeah, well, we're going to sit out the first round and watch everybody else make their mistakes.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All the best, my friend. Thank you so much for your time today. Right. Good to see you again.
All right. Thank you, Tom.
All right. Tony Grossi, kind enough to stay very patient. Casey, nicely done. Paul, nicely done. Hanging in there.
It's Casey. Yeah. Patience is a virtue, Casey. Good
job.
Troubleshooting. That's what I get paid to do.
Well, I tell you, Jordan is coming after me hard today. You read some of these comments from our man Jordan. He's here every day. Jordan, we love you. Thom, you better drop the everyman shtick if you're going to carry water for the richest man in the world. Did I say I'm carrying water for Elon Musk? Did I say that? I never said that. All I said is there are people out there in this chat, and Jordan must be one of them, who's either angry that Elon Musk has a lot of money, who's angry that maybe he came from some money, and that angry he's very successful, or angry because it isn't like his politics. That's all I said. And all I asked you, Jordan, and everybody else is, would you be okay with your son or daughter going out there and being as successful academically, professionally, as Elon Musk? That's all the question I asked. I'm not carrying water for anybody. But to drop things like cut the everyman shtick, come on, Jordan. Come on now. Come on. We love you, Jordan. We're glad you're here. And Jordan just chimed in, I just don't like Elon Musk as a person. And hey, look, I don't know the guy. I might not like him if I knew him. I'm only going by things that he's out there trying to do. That's all. I mean, you like electric cars? You like the idea of electric cars?
Sure.
Do you like the idea of it?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Is he not started that company and turned it into a worldwide company? Electric cars, right? The environment, all that good stuff? All right. Okay. Everett says, no one's going to change their opinion on Musk based on a sports talk show. Chat room. Fair enough. Okay. And I'm not going to beat down Jordan in any way, shape, or form because he's here every day and we are glad that he is. He just doesn't like him as a person, and he's more entitled to feel that way. I just made the comment that I didn't think it was a stretch when you brought up his name about, is Dion the Elon Musk, right?
Yeah, it's Dion Elon.
Speaking of the transfer portal, especially as it relates to this city, little just news and nuggets here. UC basketball did get a transfer a couple days ago. CJ Frederick, hometown kid, played basketball at Covcath in high school, played at Iowa, then played at Kentucky, now is transferring back to Cincinnati. Has 2 years of eligibility left. He can apply for that second year if he wants it. Has 1 year right now, but I think he has the second year available to him because he took that medical red shirt, plus he has the COVID year. But he's been hurt a lot. Didn't really work out at Kentucky. Now going to play at Cincinnati. And then over at Xavier, Zach Fremantle said he's going to come back for the 5th year. So just a couple of news and nuggets.
All right, let me ask you this on both of those topics because we're on a short show today, only about 10 more minutes. Start with Fremantle. Okay? Because, I mean, the guy's a heck of a player, man. I mean, they really missed him last year. They could give you all the nonsense, well, we're better at this and we're better at that. When you walk away from 18 points and 9-10 rebounds a game, you miss a guy.
Yeah.
He's a player. And I think they probably end up in the Elite Eight if he's there. With him coming back, now Boom walks out the door.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, and why am I drawing a blank on the kid? I love the way
Kunkel.
the kid plays. Yeah, he's walking out the door, right?
Well, he graduated.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah,
That's what I
I'm just
mean.
saying he's
They're
not
leaving.
like, yeah.
Okay, and
yeah.
we know that Nunji's not coming back.
Yes.
They do have a good recruiting class.
Yes.
They do have some good young players. And they have some other guys coming back, Hunter, et cetera. Are they a top 15 ranked team before the season starts next year?
I think they're probably a fringe top 25 team. I don't think they'll be top 15, but I think there's just too many unknowns. You're getting 3 guys from Conference USA. You have an unknown freshman class, guys that are highly ranked, but you never know how they actually pan out at the D1 level. So I'd say they're a top 25 caliber team, fringe, but a lot of question marks there. I mean, it's the same with UC to a certain extent. You're bringing in a massive freshman class, some huge names, Jizzle James coming in, Rayvon Griffith, who didn't have the best year the last year, but has been a very, very talented player in the last few years through his high school career. Day. Then you have Mike Adams-Woods coming back, Dan Skillings, Victor Locken, of course.
Yep.
You go out and get C.J. Frederick, who, if he can stay healthy, gives you a really good shooting option. And then they're in on Seamus Lukosius, who could play the 3 or 4 from Butler if he was to pick UC. So, you know, both teams, I think there's a lot of intrigue around both teams because there's just so many unknowns.
Is it fair to have a red flag, lack of a better term? Is it fair to put a red flag on Frederick? I know he's a local kid. I get all that. I know his dad. I know his uncle. I know all those guys. Love their family.
Know him very well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, good people. But, you know, should there be, maybe that's the wrong term, but you know what I'm getting at here. I mean, you go to Iowa, you're not happy there. You go to Kentucky, you're not happy there. Now you're on your 3rd school. And I know there are other guys that do this kind of thing. Is that cause for any red flag?
Well, I think the bigger red flag would be the injury issue because he's been very hurt every year, pretty much. He's missed games every season of his career so far with some kind of injury. He got extremely hurt. He tore his, I think it was his hamstring or his something in his knee maybe so badly that they had to go back up into his leg to retrieve it. I mean, not to get too graphic here at 11 a.m., but I mean, it was a massive injury that he suffered before he started at UK. Missed that season. Now he has to come to play at UC where, you know, Calipari, it was rumored that they said he hadn't guaranteed his playing time, which I don't blame CJ for then wanting to get out of that situation when you have 1 year left to then go play at Cincinnati to a point where you get back, you like playing for Wes Miller, and you're playing in your hometown. And he was recruited hard by Xavier the first time around. Not as hard as probably Xavier fans would have liked at the time. I think it was kind of a slow recruitment, and then CJ just, to his credit, didn't want to keep waiting and committed to Iowa. And he had a great sophomore year, shot 47% from 3. That was the team with Luka Garza. So Luka was able to space the floor. CJ had a lot of opening, a lot of openings from the perimeter, shot 47%. But the injury issues are definitely a concern.
Okay.
I would say. More so than the school thing, because I think part of that was he was hurt at UK, never really got the fair shake. UK's got a historic recruiting class coming in. There was a lot of mitigating factors there. So I think it's more so, can CJ stay healthy? Because if he can, he's a good player.
Good. Well, we're rooting for him. I mean, we're rooting for all those guys. I'm glad to see that Fremantle's coming back.
Yeah.
He'll be healthy. Hopefully there's not a reoccurring issue with that same foot, right? Same one, couple times.
Yeah, same foot.
Yeah. And big guys, that seems to follow some big guys around in every sport, football, but basketball especially, when you're up and down the floor and all that kind of thing. So hopefully, I know that CJ, a lot of Kentucky fans got upset that he did not shoot as well last year as they had hoped he would.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure if they ask him to be a point guard, and maybe that's not really what he is. Then you ask him to be the shooting guard, and, okay, he didn't shoot it as well. But I obviously UC and Wes Miller feel like they've made a real good move by bringing him in.
Yeah, and he won't be a point guard for UC.
No.
I mean, he would be fourth. He can handle the ball. I'm not saying he can't, but he would be fourth on that list. I mean, when you have Day coming in, you have Mike Adams-Woods, who probably is not even going to be the starting point guard either. So there are options there for sure for ball handling for UC. So I have no idea what we're going to get out of UC this year. I mean, it really is such a question mark. But just wanted to hit on those couple of things.
Okay, I'm glad we did, because that was my error yesterday. And look, I'm going to tie a ribbon around this thing, because this is what I don't like about chats or social media. I don't like it. And it happens to me all the time. Maybe it happens to some of you. Just because someone might have a difference of opinion, it's no reason to then go on the attack. Okay? We are allowed to disagree without screaming and yelling and calling each other names or lumping us into groups. Okay? Jordan had an opinion today. I disagreed with it. But I respect Jordan. He's here all the time. He adds a great deal to our chat on a daily basis about multiple topics. Please don't fall in the trap of starting now to go on the attack about. Is that fair?
Sure.
I mean, I just block you straight up, so.
Block who?
I block AJ.
Casey's not afraid.
I block Leaf. I'm not afraid to block whoever.
Well, but Jordan should not be blocked, and I don't want anybody blocked.
I'm just kidding.
I'm just saying, I don't want anybody on the attack here. Let's just, give your opinion. You're entitled to have it, right? You're entitled to have it. I'm entitled to have it. I mean, it never ends. It never ends. You're being accused of being a part of cancel culture by your boy, Sir Boy Wonder.
That one hurts, Sir Boy.
I mean, that's a shot.
That hurts.
Does cancel culture exist?
Oh, trust me.
Yes.
Yes, it does. And anybody who has their head in the sand and thinks otherwise, they are out of their mind. But out of their mind. Never has the word. And this is one of the worst words you can say about a human being, is when you call somebody a racist. That word has been used to describe more people just because you don't agree with them politically or philosophically. You can have certain opinions, and it doesn't make you a racist. And when you throw around that word, man, that's a serious word. It's a serious word, as serious as any word there is. And that word is being used more now than it has ever been used before, and it's all because of wanting to cancel people out and hearing their opinion.
Yeah, I'm more so meant like from both sides, because I feel like it's just this constant, because obviously, we've gone back and forth with cancel culture and all that discussion, but I just more so mean this debate from both sides and what we see on the internet. It's just, it's an interesting discussion. We've never really got into it or talked about it before. I just kind of wanted to throw it out there and see what you thought about it, Thom.
I mean, I know firsthand about it. And could I ever go out and prove it? I can't prove it. And that's the thing about cancel culture. You can't, more times than not, you can't prove it. Although there have been some situations here lately that have come up where all of a sudden you're like, ooh, that's borderline proving it. But, it's alive and well. And look, nobody is perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. But we are entitled as Americans, and this is a great point made by Richard Stites here, America is great if you are blessed with free will, free thought, free speech. You can disagree with my speech. I can disagree with yours. It doesn't mean I call you a racist. The old sticks and stones adage. Okay. Are you guys doing box lunch today?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And so Reed will be coming in here for that, right?
Yep.
Okay, because we're going to wrap this up today a little bit early. One of the challenges of doing a show like this, and it's not complaining, is when you ask people to join you and they commit to doing so, and you could say this about anything in life, is when they tell you they're going to do so, and then they either cancel at the last minute, something comes up, and that happens to everybody, happens to you, happens to me. Something comes up with your kids, something comes up with your job, something comes up with, you get a flat tire. Could be anything, right? So things happen. But when they happen, 2, 3, 4 times, and you're getting it at the last minute when you're trying to build something and present something here to you, and that is the case. It happened to us again here today. So our show will pick back up tomorrow. All right, now, Casey, walk me through what you and I and Paul have scheduled for tomorrow, draft day. Are you ready, Bengal fans? Are you excited?
I am excited because I think we're going to...
No, I mean excited.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I am... when we have that scale of how you feeling, that 1 to 10 scale, I'm at a 9.9, Tom. When it gets this close to draft day, I get excited because new talent coming in.
But are you going to be, and I'm going on Zim's show tomorrow night. I wish you guys would come on with me. We're doing it on Cincinnati podcast. I mean, he's got big leaguers fronting that thing, right?
Right.
I mean, DJ Reader's going to be on there. Hugh Jackson, I love Hugh. I know a lot of people don't. I really like the guy. I mean, I like him a lot. I think he's a really good offensive mind. We know what happened in Cleveland. I know. But I like the guy. He's got great personality. He's smart. He's going to be on that show. Why aren't you guys on that show tomorrow night?
Do you think the Ham and Eggers have a big enough hold on this space to even come close to touching that show?
There are a lot of Ham and Eggers joining that program tomorrow night, including me. Not DJ or Hugh, but, I mean, they've got some other people that are going to be on that show tomorrow night that you guys know your stuff. I just worry about Casey on days like tomorrow.
I'll be okay.
No, I
right.
sincerely mean this. You are so wrapped up in this DeJuan Jones thing. And no one loves the Buckeyes more than me. And I would love to see DeJuan Jones as a Cincinnati Bengal because I love the Bengals. I mean, I'm just like all the rest of you. I'm sitting there in front of my TV cheering or throwing shit at the screen. Right? You tomorrow night, I would like you to take a video, okay, or have Alexandria take a video of you when they tell us that the 28th pick, the Cincinnati Bengals, are on the clock. Now, did I read A.J. Green is going to announce a pick tomorrow night?
Second round.
That's what I thought.
Second round.
The first round's all done by Roger Goodell.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
The commissioner. Okay. I would love to see a video of what is going to be your reaction if the Bengals take anyone besides DeJuan Jones.
I will be okay, Tom. The only time I'm going to just completely go nuts over the fact that DeJuan Jones was taken, not as a Bengal, is if the Chiefs or the Steelers pick him. Other than that, I will be fine. I'll be all right. But, me and Vach Lombardi, we both see something. I don't know if I tagged you in that post the other day. He's got him as his number one lineman prospect.
And he talked about him at length on the show.
Yeah.
And all the reasons he loves a guy.
I think he's the most NFL ready right now. He can help you win games today. I don't know if his upside is as large as some of the others, but, man,
All right, let me ask you this, because this has been brought up before we get out of here today. Jordan brings up, he says, I can see the Bengals actually trading back, right? Move back a couple of spots to get the guy, get an extra pick. I think he's onto something there. I would not be surprised by that, would you?
I would not, especially if they feel like Jahmyr Gibbs is truly a first-round graded running back. I think that they would trade back and get a couple extra picks, maybe, pick Jahmyr Gibbs or someone like that. I don't know. It's really tough because I think they don't want to spend premium picks on positions that are not premium. And it's going to be really hard for them to not look and see like Emmanuel Forbes sitting there, or Miles Murphy, or Brian Brzee, or McDonald, or, Kalijah Cansey. Just one of those defensive players there that, I don't know, more premium than running back or tight end. And we've had that discussion before on here too. But
well, Kelsey Conway, who covers the team for Cincinnati.com, she did a first 3-round mock draft today for the Bengals, and she thought the Bengals would pick your guy Forbes, cornerback, weighs 167 pounds. But, electrifying. Bengals haven't had a lot of cornerbacks in recent years piling up interceptions. That's not been their M.O.
Nope.
He's that kind of guy. I think he returned like 6 of them for touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, he holds the record, I believe.
Yeah. Do you think there's any chance whatsoever? I say no before I even ask the question, but I would do it, and that's trade up. That trade that was proposed with Tampa Bay.
I would do that in a heartbeat if it were me, but I can't really remember any time that they've ever traded up in the first round. I can remember them trading back in the first round. I can remember them trading up in later rounds, especially last year. I can remember Tyson Anderson was one. Ryan Finley, the quarterback, was one guy.
Ryan Finley?
Yeah. They traded up to get Ryan Finley.
Yeah, I'm well aware.
But,
go ahead.
But, if they were to do that, I would be happy, because then I know that that trade includes trading away Jonah Williams, which then they would finally see what I see, and that's just someone that's not going to play well when it matters most.
Right.
I don't care if he's got a 95.9 efficiency rating when he gives it up in the worst possible moments, right? So, yeah, then we would get our choice at any of the right tackles probably, and you move on from there. But from what the Bengals have said, I've already come to grips that the right tackle spot is probably not going to get addressed in the first round. They've got plenty of options there. We've gone through it at length. It just doesn't make sense to pick another right tackle there. It makes more sense to get a guy that A, will either help you on offense like a tight end or running back, or B, premium position like corner, edge rusher, something like that.
I tell you there's one guy out there, because you guys know it's nothing personally against the guy. The worst nightmare for everybody, for any team that has a good quarterback, is to something happen to your starting quarterback, right? Which, by the way, the Bengals picked up that fifth-year option. That's basically a procedural kind of thing. It's been done by a lot. It was done with Mahomes. It was done with Allen. It was done with Justin Jefferson. There are multiple reasons for it. The Bengals are still working on a long-term deal. This is nothing to get all worked up about. I know a lot of people were initially. Dorian Trevor Thompson-Robinson is the guy that if I were the Bengals later in the draft, I would give serious consideration to picking that guy up.
That the UCLA quarterback?
Yes.
Oh, man.
That is a gamer. He is exciting. He's dynamic. Now, he's not in this group with the rest of them. The Youngs and the Strouds and the Richardsons and the Levises and all those kinds of guys. But, man, that dude is exciting, and you'll be able to get him later in the draft. I'd give consideration to picking him up.
Yeah, I think they are going to pick someone, right? I don't think they've re-signed Brandon it's Brandon, right?
Allen?
Brandon Allen, yeah. They haven't signed Allen yet, so, they're going to look at quarterbacks in the draft at some point, probably a day 3 pick. So that would be your guy there, Thom, in the 4th round, 5th round.
And I think he's a guy that you could do some very creative things with in your offense. I mean, you're going to have Burrow on the field. Let's remember now, Sean Payton got creative when Breeze was there, where they'd run Hill in there for some certain packages and do some certain things. You would create another level of time and energy and preparation if you have a dynamic, very different kind of a player at that position of things you could do theoretically, and I'm not saying you ever sit Burrow down, but if you wanted to mix in some different pieces, he would be an interesting guy to take a chance on.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, Thom. I like the idea of having a dynamic backup because you're just not going to find – to me, you want like a boom or bust sort of backup in the fold. You don't want someone that's like below average.
Right. That's a great way of putting it.
Because more than likely, they're not going to give you a quality start. Like, they're not going to give you a level of Joe Burrow, right? They're going to give you either, you're below average, or maybe they ball out one game, right? And they sneak a win that they shouldn't win, right? That's the way I think about it. And it's a different personnel group that if you don't prep for, then you're in a really tough spot. I mean, you got to change your whole game plan on defense with a guy that's super dynamic. So yeah, I like that pick a lot.
All right, we'll see how it plays out. We got the first round tomorrow night. We are going to pick 3 players. Paul, we ought to get Reed to come in on this thing tomorrow.
Yeah, why not?
I'll ask him about it if he's coming in here in a minute, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's have Reed come in here so we can ask him real quick as box lunch is going to get started here in a couple of minutes. To where each of us is going to pick 3 players we think will be available in each of the first 3 rounds when the Bengals selection comes up, right?
Right.
And then we're going to choose that person. Now, Reed Mouse making his way in right now. Reed, I was just talking behind your back. Now I'll say it to your face. Do you have time to join us tomorrow? What we're going to do here is, you may have overheard, what we're going to do is each of us, and you would be the 4th, okay? We're going to pick, we're going to provide a pool of 3 players. 3 players in the first round, 3 in the second, 3 in the third.
Yep.
Okay? And then make a pick from those players that if we were Duke Tobin and the Bengals, this is who we would choose. You up for that tomorrow?
Absolutely.
All right. Okay.
Absolutely.
So we'll do that tomorrow. We got this guy coming on tomorrow. Help me with the name again, Paul. You looked him up earlier from the Oakland A's.
Ryan Noda?
Yeah. So I called the Oakland A's yesterday. The woman who runs their PR used to work with us with the Diamondbacks. And, we had a little meeting here afterwards yesterday and started talking about how we're going to look into previewing Reds series, previewing other games, UC, Xavier, football, basketball, Bengals. A lot more preview stuff than necessarily recapping stuff. So I reached out to the Oakland A's and this woman I know out there, and I said, hey, we'd love to get somebody from the A's to preview the series, which begins tomorrow night in Oakland, the Reds and the A's. And she said, well, she said, I sent another PR person on the road trip. I think they're in Anaheim. Said, I'm assuming you want to talk about the potential move to Las Vegas. I said, well, if we talk about it, great. If we don't, it's more of a series kind of thing. So she says, let me reach out to my guy who's with a team and say, okay. So the guy reaches out to me, the PR guy, and says, this young man played at the University of Cincinnati for 3 years.
Yep.
He said, so there's a tie there. Any interest in him? And I'm like, absolutely. The guy just got to the big leagues for the first time. So he is going to join us tomorrow. We have lots of draft coverage stuff leading up to the draft. Tracy Jones will be joining us tomorrow, or at least so he says. We'll find out. And so we're good to go tomorrow. And now Reed Mouse is in the house.
Mouse in the house.
Mouse in the house.
Got one thing on the draft. Remember yesterday we were talking about the value from the Betfred Sportsbook on which pick the Bengals might take at 28, what the position of that pick would be.
Okay.
And my thought to the chat was, plus 1,100 for a defensive lineman was incredible value.
Yep.
Well, Betfred Sportsbook must have been listening because defensive lineman is now the third favorite for the Bengals, and it's all the way down to plus 350.
Oh, my
Wow.
gosh.
See, you are moving the markets.
Cornerback.
You are the Alan Greenspan.
That's right.
Of off the bench.
Cornerback and tight end have actually now flipped to being tied for the favorite, both at plus 200. So they took DB off the board and just made it, or I guess they split it because cornerback wasn't available yesterday. They just had it as all the DBs. Now the cornerback is plus 200, tight ends plus 200, defensive linemen's plus 350, offensive linemen's plus 400. Then it jumps all the way to running back at plus 1,100.
Wow.
So really there's not a ton of value now anymore on that. They caught on to us.
As Jordan says, Paul with his finger on the pulse of Betfred Sports.
Well, I just thought that was
You are the Elon Musk of Betfred Sports.
yeah.
That's how we close the show. You're moving the markets.
I just thought that number was too high. We all agreed on that.
we
That
all
wasn't
agreed.
just me. I mean, we all talked about it.
Yeah, I wish I would have put money on it.
The chat's lighting up. BLP.
We all talked about it. It wasn't me. We all talked about it.
BLP.
We all agreed.
And that is BLP, an acronym for initials for, what is that?
Big League Paul.
Yes, Big League Paul. Big League Paul. All right, BLP is just flooding the chat. BLP MVP move. How about that?
We were just trying to give some people some financial freedom.
Amen.
Take some money from
We're
Fred.
all about it. Financial freedom. Okay. Time for box lunch. And you're starting right out of the gate with now a little more than an hour. Hour and 2 minutes from your Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah. My Cincinnati Reds? Come on, Tom. Just like it's your Xavier Muskies.
They're always my Xavier Muskies. Always. Always.
They going to get it done today, Tom? They going to win? They going to get the sweep?
Well, they got Ashcraft going. So, I mean, you like their chances. Although Gray has been very good for Texas. And I don't care how good you are or how bad you are. It's mighty tough to sweep anybody, right? In a 3-game series, especially as, it's tough, even if you're at home. I think there's some betting thing about that, right? About betting a home team who's a dog. I don't know if the Reds are a dog today. Are they a dog or a favorite?
I think they might actually be favored.
Okay.
It's close.
All right.
It's really close. But, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. You're supposed to bet a home team that is a dog.
Yes.
Game 1 of the series.
Yes.
And if they lose, you double it up. You bet it again. And
right.
then just thinking that you're not going to get swept at home.
Exactly.
It's a pick 'em today.
Okay, pick 'em. Well, it probably should be a pick 'em today because Ashcraft's been great. And Gray's a good pitcher. And Texas, like I said, they've lost 2 in a row here and trying to avoid the sweep. All right. You ready, boys? Casey, thank you. Paul, thank you. Casey, everything stays calm tonight. Okay? Good night's sleep. Be ready to go.
I'll be ready.
All right. Box lunch. Here we go.
I must admit, I didn't think much of this show the first time I laid eyes on it. Seemed like a bunch of stiffs wasting nice
The worst
microphones.
trade of all time happened back in 1803. Go ahead. Napoleon Bonaparte traded the Louisiana Purchase for $3 million. Napoleon, what happened? Half the country for $3 million. You can't even get Tucker Barnhart for $3 million.
Then I came to realize
anymore.
these guys are funny.
And Justin Fields have identical stats the last 5 weeks about throwing the football. This guy, okay,
And
folks,
are
is a
some of the
fidget
best
spinner.
gamblers I've come to know.
If you're betting on USC and or TCU, let it be known you are a square.
TCU is going to hammer this team tomorrow night.
I hate to hear that.
Tomorrow
when we come back
afternoon.
in here on Monday, you're going to be happy as a lark because USC lost, but you're going to be wrong about TCU.
Get ready for the most useless hour of your day. It's time for Boxed Lunch, presented by Betfred Sportsbook. Now, Casey, run that track.
Very on par with mid-2000s SmackDown versus Raw 2008 on the Xbox 360 Hey guys, it's Fox Lunch, presented by Betfred Sportsbook. We're going to talk about Elon Musk and talk about the racial divide in today's America. Not seriously. Obviously,
Cancel culture.
Yep, cancel culture. We got a little dicey. Me and Trace were actually having a deep conversation before I walked in the office. We were this close to figuring out America's problem.
Oh, really?
America's biggest problems. So we gotta put a bookmark in that, and we'll get it going again. Guys, how are you? Paul Fritchner, Casey McAllister, Box Lunch presented by Betfred Sportsbook. There, we said everything. Guys, how you doing?
I think we're good. Yeah, we're doing all right. Are we going to the Reds game?
Businessman special? Are we businessmen?
No.
No.
But we are special.
We are special. We'd have to wrap up the show at 12. No, we've got meetings for Chatterbox Idol. I've got a meeting here in a little bit.
Oh, we do?
So,
More of them. How many more do we have today?
Couple more. People are trying to cancel me. PB was talking about my hair, and I do need a haircut. It's not good, and I need to shave a little bit. It's rough here on this Wednesday, beloved Wednesday. We got the sun shining though, so it's good. But the Reds going for the sweep against the Texas Rangers. I got to tell you guys, I don't know about you guys as actual Reds fans, but I'm happy for the Reds because, man, we talked all offseason. They just got to make it to Memorial Day. They got to make it to Memorial Day. They got to make it to the summer where they're still relevant. You're still tuning into the games, still talking about them, and we're dangerously close to writing off the Reds entirely after that sweep against the Buccos this past weekend. Morale was low, but winning back-to-back games against the second-best team in the American League was like an AED to the chest. Just sent some shockwaves in there. Got a little blood pumping. You win today. You get the sweep. Get the brooms out. You go into the weekend against the A's, and I don't know if you guys have seen the Oakland Athletics, but their run differential is minus 104. Minus 104, more than double the next worst team. They are terrible. So you go to Oakland, get a chance to win another series, and then you go back at it. But I'll tell you what, guys. I don't know about you, but the Reds desperately needed to get these 2 wins. Did it feel like it was an AED to the chest? Did it feel like morale was just so low after losing, getting swept by the Pittsburgh Pirates, that you just needed to get these 2 wins to just get a little bit more livelihood from Reds fans?
Last night was a feeling like after the first Rays game where they beat the Rays and very decisively beat the Rays in game 1 of that series, and then came back in games 2 and 3 and got their doors blown off. Mm-hmm. And you're thinking, all right, they caught lightning in a bottle. They rallied. Everything was cool. Game 1. Last night they're losing 6-0, and you're thinking, uh-oh. Here goes the Rays series. This is just, we're beating our head against the door. We're doing the same thing again. No. Rangers bullpen, maybe they do this again. Sure enough, they did. So, yeah, I thought last night was, again, it's just a good little indication of what this team is doing right now, that at least they're showing some fight. They could have very easily rolled over last night when it was 6-0.
Yeah, I was just going to say it was a little bit of it was like, you heard just the tiny little beep on the monitor, right?
Right.
Beep. Beep.
Yep.
They win tonight. The body's dancing. I mean, the whole fan base is going to be elated. 10-15, you just swept the Rangers.
Elated.
Yeah, I mean, you got a really favorable matchup coming up. Yeah, I would say that would be a life support. It wouldn't be needed. I'll just put it like that.
Casey, let me ask you. So this is your first season really following baseball. We've made much to do about that. What has it been like your first month following the Reds day by day, game by game? Does it get the blood pumping? Are you in? Are you out? What's it like rooting for the Cincinnati Reds really for the first time in your life?
It's interesting. Like I said, I have very little patience in sports, professional sports at that, for mediocrity. Mm-hmm. And it's something I had to get used to, right? Because I only see one game in football once a week, more than likely. And either play good or they play bad, and you have the whole week to talk about it, flesh out your thoughts, and watch film on it. With baseball, it's, you go through stretches of poor play, and then you go through stretches of good play, and then it's like, you gotta cut your emotions in half almost when you watch baseball, because you can't just be like all over them for the Pirates series, right? And be like, oh, this team is just god awful, and then turn around this series and be like, all right, we're good, we're in a good spot. I'm still finding that happy medium.
Well, that's part of the charm of being a baseball fan, is you can make just drastic overreactions to every game. There's 162 of them, but you can just treat everyone like it's Game 7 of the World Series. Be like, man, we are terrible. We're losing 8-2. This team stinks. Then you come back and win tomorrow. Like, I think we might win the World Series. I don't know. Don't let us win the next couple. Don't let us get on a roll. Don't let us sneak into the wild card. That's what's fun about being a baseball fan, is the games they mean something, but they don't mean a lot, so you don't really have any idea on how to react day to day, game to game. It really is a mystery. It truly is. If we were smart about today, we could have easily gotten the businessman special, gone to the game at 12:40, got tickets, sit there, see if the Reds sweep, bided our time sometime around downtown, and then got FCC tickets because they play tonight for like $10 in the U.S. Open. Isn't that just meaning, like, just that friendly?
Well, yeah, but that was how FCC basically became FCC, was when they made that run in 2017, whatever it was,
2016, I believe.
16?
20.
It might have, whatever year it was.
Yeah.
When they played Columbus and they played at Nippert, and that was that whole deal. That was all the U.S. Open Cup.
And now they're the team in the MLS that.
Or was that the Gold Cup?
I think it was the U.S. Open. It was the U.S. Open, because I went to a game, only FCC game I've ever been to. It made me gain an appreciation for the sport. It was a lot of fun. Packed house there at Nippert Stadium. I think it was sold out. Bailey was rocking. Did you guys go to any of those games in the U.S.? Casey, was that pre-Alex? Was that pre your soccer fandom?
Let's see, 2016.
2017.
2017. We've been together for 5 years. So it was very close. 2017 is very close to that window. I think we started dating in 2018. So it's probably pre-Alex, but I've been to a lot of Nippert games for FC. Been to a lot of TQL games, in fact. But yeah, I mean, I've seen the progression of this team. I'm not sure like when it was, though. I don't think I was with Alex though at that time.
Brian B dropped in some news. Graham Ashcraft's grandma passed away on Monday. Do we throw the house on the Reds today?
That's what I'm wondering. I'm sitting here thinking the same thing.
Sentimental bet. What are they on Betfred right now?
It's a pick'em. It's
literally a 110.
Yeah.
At least, what's Graham Ashcraft on?
Parlay that with Graham Ashcraft over 12.5 strikeouts.
Under 5 hits.
Under 5 hits.
I love it.
What is Graham Ashcraft's prop right now? What are his props?
His strikeouts is 5.5. Plus 115.
Let's build a little parlay plus here in real time.
I mean, I like that.
Will he throw 6 innings? Because his over or under outs is that he goes 5 2/3.
Under 2.5 earned runs. Over 17.5 outs recorded because he's throwing a complete game. Over 5.5 strikeouts. Parlay plus. What do we get?
This is sponsored by Betfred Sportsbook. This is why we do it live.
My computer doesn't think I'm in the state of Ohio. Well, okay. I don't know. I'm going to have to figure this out. My computer doesn't know where I am.
We'll get that to you. Either way, hammer it because it's a guaranteed lock. Guaranteed lock. So we talked about the sweep. We talked about the Reds, who are 9-15. I don't know if you've seen what's going on in the NL Central, but there are 2 equally teams that are playing way above expectations and below expectations. And as guys, you guys have, covered the Reds. You've seen what the Pirates are doing. The Pirates are currently the best record, tied for the best record in the National League with the Atlanta Braves. They're 16-8. And then the Cardinals, who were preseason favorites in the NL Central, were one of the teams favorited to win the National League, are 9-15, the exact same record as the Cincinnati Reds. So the question that I was wondering in my head, I'm going to ask you guys this question. What is more likely to hold up? What is more likely to, at the end of the year, in September, you're looking back and be like, oh, yeah, that April thing wasn't just a fluke? Is it that the Cardinals are really bad? That the Cardinals win 70 games, go 70-90? Or that the Pirates actually push for a wild card? So what is more likely to hold up to you guys? That the Pirates push for a wild card, push for a playoff spot, or that the Cardinals are one of the worst teams in the National League?
Ooh.
Because neither seem likely to happen.
So it's funny. One of my best friends from high school, he's been texting me the last couple of days. He's a huge Pirates fan. And he's been texting me the last couple of days, and it's just, Paul, ? Pirates, ? Good, ? I've gotten that same text, I think, 3 days in a row, something like that. I'm going, I don't know.
They're playing well.
Because they're playing well. They keep winning.
They got a lot of juju. It's hard to keep juju for 162.
That's what I'm saying, though. That's what I told him. I said, let's check back in at Memorial Day. Let's temper things like Casey just talked about. Let's temper expectations. Check back in with me after you.
Down.
Yeah, let's grill some hamburgers on Memorial Day. Check back in. You send this same text, then we'll see what the Pirates are doing then.
Because it really doesn't seem likely that either one of those things happen.
Pirates have also played an easy schedule the last 2 weeks, for what that's worth. Last week.
Calling the Reds easy?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, they're in LA right now.
Yes. So did they win last night? Did they beat the Dodgers last night?
They did not. They blew a lead.
Yeah, they lost 9-8, didn't they?
Yep, they blew a lead.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did play against the Cardinals, Rockies, and Reds. So, yeah, that's an easy schedule. They have not won they lost a series against the Astros. In short, neither are probably going to happen. It seems unfathomable that the Cardinals are going to be looking up 20 games under 500 in September, and it seems unfathomable that the Pirates are doing the exact same, the opposite, where they're 90-70 and fighting for a wild card spot. But if you had to have me guess which is more likely to hold up out of those two outcomes, I don't know. I think it might be the Pirates. And maybe that's just because beating my brain in, similar to the Steelers did being a Bengals fan, the Cardinals being a Cubs fan, being here in Cincinnati. So obviously my dad's team, all my friends' team is just getting beat by the Cardinals all the time. The Cubs getting beat by the Cardinals all the time have just beat in my brain that the Cardinals are just always going to be good. That the Cardinals could throw 9 players that have never played baseball out there and could go 81-81. Maybe it's just beaten in my brain that the Cardinals will always be good. But it just doesn't seem even remotely possible that a team with 2 future Hall of Famers like Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado, still in their prime, are going to be bad at the end of the season.
I went on to Twitter real quick just to do one little check. Second tweet at the top of the timelines from Ben Verlander. Kutch homers, 7-2 Pirates over the Dodgers. How about those Buccos?
The Buccos.
That was from last night, 16 hours ago, before things fell apart for the Pirates.
Man, they did.
Shows up on my For You page in timely fashion. Thanks, Elon.
Do we like Ben Verlander?
I don't really have a strong opinion on him either way. Do you not?
I do not like Ben Verlander.
Oh, why not?
He has hitched his wagon to the back of Shohei Ohtani. For some reason, he's like, he did this thing where he went over to Japan. And I guess Ben had been on Shohei Ohtani's train long before even Ohtani made it to the U.S. And then when Ohtani had some struggles there at the beginning of his career, couldn't pitch because he was hurt, and, in 2020 wasn't very good, Ben Verlander just kept pushing it to where now he claims that he goes over to Japan and people are like, Ben Verlander, you're on Ohtani's back. It's like, all right, I ain't buying that. I ain't buying that Justin Verlander's little brother is showing up in Japan and people recognize him just because he is supporting Shohei Ohtani. He just kind of rubs me the wrong way. Seems like an okay guy. Just kind of rubs me the wrong way.
I just see him on Twitter. I don't really Don't really have an opinion. Casey, your thoughts on Ben Verlander?
Paul.
Yes.
So the Cubs, they fly the W. Do you know what the Pirates fly? Do you know what they do when they win a game?
Raise the Jolly Roger.
Raise the Jolly Roger. That's right. Casey, you a Buccos? You like the Pirates? You ever seen them fly the Jolly Roger?
No, I have not. I have a weird question because I always thought the Pirates were bad. They were like the Cleveland Browns of the Central, were they not?
That's how they're perceived, even though in the past 10 years they have been just as bad or equal to the Cincinnati Reds. But go on. I'm just spitting facts. They've been to the postseason the same amount of times, had the same number of winning seasons.
At least for Reds fans, that's who they compare the Pirates to.
They've got to beat down on somebody.
So I'm asking the chat, do the Pirates stink?
Oh, we doing that? Hey, I'm all aboard that train. If you want to do that, I'll ride that train with you.
Pirates just stink.
All right, I'm cool with that.
You know who the Pirates are? So if you want to liken it to the AFC North, the NL Central, the Pirates are the Rave. And I'm not saying how good they are. I'm just saying Bengals fans devote so much time and energy hating on the Steelers and hating on the Browns that the Ravens are just kind of forgotten sometimes. They're just kind of like the fourth team in the division to Bengals fans, except for you, Casey, because we know how much you hate the Ravens. The Pirates, you know, the Reds have the Cardinals, who are always good, so they're the Steelers. You're just always hating them because they're always good. And then the Cubs feel like the Browns in the essence of when you go to a game at Great American Ballpark and the Cubs are in town, there's so many Cubs fans there. It's the exact same scenario when the Browns come to town for the Bengals. You're just having to deal with those fans all the time. So the Brewers are just whatever. I know there's 5 teams in the NL Central. Who even cares about the Brewers? The Pirates feel like the Ravens at times. And maybe that's not like. The Pirates, $100 million contract they signed yesterday to Brian Reynolds. They are now 3 teams that have not done a $100 million contract. The Reds have. So they're not one of those 3 teams. I think it's the White Sox, the Athletics, and the Royals. So while we're on the topic, you know, parlaying the Bengals to the Reds, I've got to ask you guys a question, which is the next thing on the J-Bar. And I want the chat to answer this. What happens first? The Bengals have a losing season, or the Reds have a winning season?
Ooh.
What is more likely to happen, guys?
Starting like right now, right?
Yeah, at this moment.
At this moment.
Oh, man, that's a good question. I'm going to say that the Reds having a winning season is more likely to happen first because I think the Bengals will win enough games in the AFC North over the next few years to pad themselves to not go under 500. But it is so much more fickle in football where Joe Burrow gets hurt.
Right.
You're immediately under 500. Immediately. So... But I still think the Reds would go over 500 before the Bengals go under 500.
If Joe Burrow's on the field, it seems, with the current state of the Bengals, and the NFL is a fickle league, but at the current state of the Bengals, it doesn't seem like they're going to be an under 500 team in the near future if Joe Burrow's on the field. Now, you're right. If Joe Burrow gets hurt, then, no, the gloves are off. You know, then they win 5 games under Brandon Allen or whoever is going to be the backup quarterback next year. But the Reds still feel 2 years away at minimum. Maybe you start trying to compete next year. You sign a veteran and see if you can just win some ball games. But it still feels like next year, 2024, the Reds aren't going to be a winning team and the Bengals aren't going to be a losing team. So you're looking at least a 2025 window. Casey, what do you think?
You know, I think the Reds will have a winning season before the Bengals have a losing season. When I think of this Bengals team right now, I can't see a future where they go below 500 without injury. And I just don't think – I hate using the injury card. I just don't think Joe Burrow, even with a depleted roster – I mean, we were 12-5 last year. Could have been 13-4 if you throw in that Pittsburgh game.
12-4.
Yeah,
they didn't play the game. They
didn't play 12-4 because they didn't play the game. But you know what I mean. I think
Or maybe they're 11-5. I don't know. Or 11-4. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, regardless, I think that Joe Burrow it would be, if they were to go and have a losing season, it would be like 7-9, right? It wouldn't be like, they're not going to just all of a sudden tank. And I just don't see that happening here, even with them losing talent here in the near future. Just not going to happen. They're going to be probably that 10-7 team, that 11-6 team. Right now, they have enough talent to be that 13-4 team, that 14-3 team, but
I think OJ's 94 Bronco makes a decent point where going 8-8, going below 500, now having that 17th game, you have to win that 9th game.
Right.
You're not just getting the out at 8 wins. You could win. You'd only have to win 7 to go under 500 like before. Now you got to win those 2 extra games to make sure you don't go under 500. But I still think you pick up 4 wins against the AFC North here going forward at least. You're looking at 4 wins. I'd say you could probably pencil in 4 against the division for the next couple of years, and then you got to find 5 somewhere else.
It's not going to happen this year because they play the AFC South. So they're automatically going to, if that's the case, they're automatically at like 8 wins. So
Nick Kirby brings up a good question, and I've got an answer. Why are we acting like it's been so long since the Reds have had a winning season? They did so in 2020 and 2021. Well, it's pretty simple, Curbs. It's because the Reds stink. They have stunk last year. They stink this year. They'll stink next year. It's going to be a long time. Whatever hope that you have about the Cincinnati Reds, and not just Kirby, not just Trace, all you Reds fans, whatever hope you have, whatever you're holding on to, is quite literally just that. It's hope. It's not tangible. You're not going to be good anytime soon. And I'm sorry that I have to keep coming up here and telling you that. So, in short, I think it's more likely, to answer the question that I laid out there, I think it's more likely that the Bengals have a losing season before the Reds have a winning season. Because, I mean, you can lay out a 4-year, 5-year plan, and it's going to still have the Reds at the bottom of the NL Central, sitting there probably right there with the Pirates. So,
I think part of it, too, is the perception of those seasons. Like, they finished 4 games. I think it was 4 games, right? 4, 5, 6 games above 500 in 2021. But they sold everybody away. 2020, they were 2 games above 500 in a 60-game season.
Right.
Like the mental, it almost goes back to our argument about like me saying, the Bengals. Then you kind of dig into it and you're like, well, the Bengals did make the playoffs 9 times. And it's like they have been there. They just seem like a bad franchise because of how decisions are made. But they've won a lot of games. They've consistently made the postseason. Then you kind of think back to that 2020 and 2021 season. They had the Cy Young.
Right.
And then
Darvish
part of it also, I think, is hindsight being 2020, where you have this misperceived reality of what happened in 2020 because they didn't score any runs, and so you feel like the season was kind of a failure. And then in 2021, they were good, and they sold everybody away, and the rest of the season didn't matter. So, yes, they did finish above 500, but it just didn't feel like they were on the winning path, if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I agree. Listen, the Reds, so let's go back 13 years. You know, they build up. They have this young farm system, Jay Bruce, Joey Votto, and they have all these young guys coming up. And you make it to the postseason 2010, 2012, 2013. And then 2014 doesn't go very well. And then you decide, all right, we're gonna scrap this thing down. Let's try again. And then it takes so long, right? 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, or I guess 2018 was the last like really bad year. And then you start building towards something. You know, you're playing competitive baseball. I think it was 2019. I remember going down to Great American Ballpark, the Reds trying to compete that year, right? They make that trade with the Dodgers that sees Yasiel Puig come over and Matt Kemp. And it looks like they're trying to compete, and they do. They go get Mike Moustakas. And it just doesn't pan out as well as things could be, right? Because they missed on Moustakas. The young Aristides Aquino, who was a flash in the pan for a week. God, I went down to Great American Ballpark when he hit those 3 home runs against Kyle Hendricks. Talk about something that'll just live in your mind forever. I'm bragging to my friends. Just wait till the professor takes you to school. And then Aristides Aquino, we're hearing the guy who hosts Off the Bench yell, "The Punisher!" 3 times in a row. Golly, that was absolutely miserable. But it's just been the fact that the Reds have been bad for a decade. I know they competed in 2020 and 2021, but it didn't feel like it didn't feel sustainable. And it wasn't. It turned out that in 2022, the shortened season, they finally get the schedule presented. They finally come to agreement with the players, and the strike's over, and then they're going to push back the season. And right then and there, the Reds get rid of everybody. And yeah, they're building up, and it seems like they've got some young prospects, and we'll see how it pans out. But I think the Reds have just beaten down the Reds fan base long enough.
Yeah.
Gave them a little bit of hope there for a year or two, and then it went down. Oh, well. All right, Paul.
Yep.
You're a baseball guy.
All right. Let's guess that player.
Yeah, baseball guy. All right, here's something I want to do.
All right.
I've done this with my friends for years. We did this yesterday. Sean were trying to stump me. And basically what they would do is they would show me a baseball reference page. They'd show me the entire career, right? The teams, the positions they played, the years they played, awards won, everything. Okay. And you're basically going to see this page, no name or anything like that.
Okay.
And you are going to try and decipher this player. Casey, in the singular, they should be numbered.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
not
I'm
the
not going to look.
app.
Yeah, see them right here. Number, it's like when you do the chat power rankings.
Yep. I will get that pulled up.
We got 5 players, and I want this is for the chat. I want you guys to pull this up. I want to see if you guys.
I'm not going to look at the chat. I am exceptionally. You could give me college basketball in this, and I would be bad. Like I'm not.
Okay.
This is not a strength of mine.
It starts out pretty easy.
But,
it starts off pretty easy.
All right.
What number first?
Number 1. So we'll pull up.
Well, that says.
Oh no, not that. It's in the actual singular, not the app.
Oh.
I apologize. Not the chat power rankings. We'll pull this up. Sorry, I should have got you guys ready for this.
Leif Erikson.
And the assets.
Okay. Yeah, I got it. Let me.
Yep.
Let me put it in there.
We have not made the chat power rankings yet, guys. So don't freak out. The chat power rankings will be on Friday. We might have a little special thing for tomorrow. We'll get to that in a moment. But USA veteran, we thank you for coming in. OJ's 94 Bronco has been good.
All right, here we go.
Paul, who is this player?
I gotta wait. I'm trying to see. Okay, started in Cincinnati, then went to the Met. Oh, this is Jay Bruce, isn't it?
This is Jay Bruce. That was an easy one.
All right, easy one.
That was an easy one. All right, 1 for 1.
All right, 1 for 1.
Number 2?
Yep, go ahead and do number 2.
All right.
So I try to keep this Reds and national centric.
Ooh, okay.
For you. Because you're a national.
Jason Worth.
Jason Worth is correct. We're doing it nice and easy.
There we
See?
go. 2 for 2.
You're not good at that. Look at that. He led the league in doubles, 47 back in 2010. All right. Number 3. Now this guy, it gets a little gradually harder as it goes along.
Okay.
All right.
Ooh, Minnesota. So he started in Minnesota.
Was an early national.
Was a very early national.
Led the league in triples 3
all-star.
times.
Oh, is this
So he's got some speed.
Is this Christian Guzman?
This is Christian Guzman.
Really? Wow.
Christian Guzman.
Wow. I couldn't remember if he played from Minnesota, where he came from. All right. What?
Nothing.
What?
Am I wrong?
No.
Oh, I thought I was getting them wrong, and you were.
Here's the next one.
Oh, who is this?
Who is number 4? Whose baseball reference page is this?
So I've just been bamboozled into Reed Mouse propaganda.
He slugged 229 as a sophomore in college. Who is this?
Is this Reed Mouse?
This is Reed Mouse's baseball reference page. So that's number 4. As I mentioned, it was getting a little harder. I had to show that. This is the hardest one.
All right. Started in Kansas City.
Yep.
Then he was all over the place. He only played in Cincinnati for a year, 2005.
For 92 games.
92 games in 2005. win anything. So this is a
Played third base, as you can see on the positions on the far right side.
nondescript player. Played third base.
Career 284 hitter.
Yeah. Who played third for the Reds in 2005? Well, then he went to San Diego.
Went to San Diego.
He split that season.
Ended his career with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Oh,
the
man.
chat has got it.
The chat does?
The chat has got it.
I'm not looking.
He's a favorite of mine as a non-Reds fan. For some reason, this guy.
One season.
I told you it gets a little tougher.
Can I get a hint? Is there any hint
I could give you like a random hint.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just a random player. Random player.
Oh. What was his first name? I don't even know. I don't remember. I don't remember.
Joe Randa.
I was going to say Kurt. Joe Randa. No, I would
have
never
walk-off
gotten that.
home run. Everyone's remembering Joe Randa's walk-off home run. So
was there a Kurt Randa?
Kurt Randa?
Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. Maybe I'm thinking of, I don't know who I'm thinking of. Joe Randa. Wow.
You don't remember Joe Randa? That was
no,
when
I
you
don't
were,
remember that.
That was when you were East Coast elite.
Yeah, that was when Nationals fever was sweeping the nation in 2005.
That's
that was
when
their
they
first
just
season.
moved, right?
That was their first season.
Did you ever go to RFK?
Many times.
Really?
So you could park when Nationals Park was built in 2008. I think for 1 year you could still park at RFK and they would bus you over to Nationals Park because people were so upset about moving parks. And then what?
What was RFK used for in the time being? Because that's where the Senators played, right?
Well, it was the Redskins Stadium too.
Oh, before FedEx was built?
Yeah. The Redskins played there.
And then that was built like in the early 2000s, right?
FedEx? Yeah, or late 90s, early 2000s.
So then it was just sitting there.
And then it just sat there. Well, DC
decade.
United played there too.
Okay.
And then the Nationals came in 2005. They played there 5, 6, and 7. And then Nationals Park opened in 08.
Old Bobby Kennedy. Yeah, all right.
Kurt Rambis, that's who I'm thinking of.
Kurt Rambis?
Kurt Rambis, NBA legend. Thank you, AJ Worse.
Who do you play for?
A guy. That's the name I was thinking of. I don't remember even who he played for. He played a long time ago. He played. He was out west. Yeah, the Lakers.
I'm gonna do the same thing next time on Box Lunch with Casey and former football players. So Casey, on Friday.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bone up on your random Bengals players. I'm just gonna show you their football reference page, and you got to see if you can name them. So that's just a little tease for what we got in front of the power rankings.
You've twisted my brain so badly that when I said Christian Guzman, I thought for sure it was gonna pop. It was just gonna not be even close to Christian Guzman.
Christian Guzman. So when my friends get together, I don't know if other baseball fans do this, but you just sit around in a circle, having a beer, sitting around a fire, and you just throw out a mid-2000s player, and nothing else is said other than just like, oh, yeah, I remember him, like just sitting around. And for some reason, the first player that I always talk about when we do that is Christian Guzman. Remember Christian Guzman? Oh, yeah, Christian Guzman. You remember Todd Jones from the Tigers? Oh, yeah, the mustache. It's a game. There's no point to it. You just do it. And it's part of the reason why baseball is you can get so romantic about it is these just players that just pop up in your memory. Todd Coffey running in from Great American Ballpark. Just different things like that. You see so many players throughout the years. And you just, for some reason, a lot of them make a small impression. Alfredo Simon, Big Pasta. Remember Big Pasta?
Willie Mo Pena?
So
he also a National.
So Willie Mo Pena, my birthday party growing up as a kid. Was always, I would take like 8 friends down to Great American Ballpark. And I go down there one day, and Ken Griffey Jr. is hurt. So who's starting out in center field? Willie Mo Pena. In the beginning of I don't exactly remember when it was, but I just remember him fully diving backwards. Balls hit in like the right center field gap, like below the stacks. And him diving towards the wall to make the catch. And Willie Mo Pena wasn't known for his glove, not by any stretch of the imagination. I just remember him diving for that catch. He used to hit just monstrous home runs. He was traded for Bronson Arroyo, if I recall.
Yeah. I remember watching monster Willie Mopena home run at Nationals Park. Boy, he could swing the bat.
So he played at the end of the steroid era, and I remember my brother always talking about, like, behind the steroid guys, the guy with the most pop in the league is Willie Mopena, and he's never really fully planned out.
Yep.
All right, so guys, tomorrow is the NFL draft. I don't know how the NFL has been able to market it as like an event in sports, but it has fully become, over the past 40 years, 30 years of them doing this, televising it, it has become one of the biggest events in sports throughout the entire year. And I went to it a couple years ago when it was up in Cleveland, and it was an absolutely outstanding thing. So we are toying around. A couple people brought it up in the chat. We're going to talk after the show about possibly doing a little mock draft tomorrow after Off the Bench. I know you guys we have the thing with Thom on Off the Bench that we've already teased, but tomorrow we might be putting together a little mock draft. So stay tuned for that tomorrow. Guys, do you plan anything for the draft? Like, are you like going anywhere to watch it? Or you and your best man Thomas getting together?
I mean, me and Thomas have actually watched every draft together since, man, I want to say since maybe Andy Dalton and AJ Green. It's actually, I take it really seriously. I take the draft serious.
I was going to ask you, so you've been together. Is there one draft that sticks in your mind above the rest?
Definitely the one where we missed out on Frank Ragnow. The Lions jumped us. That's one that sticks out. And the other one, I mean, Joe Burrow. But we already knew that was going to happen. Jamar Chase, like.
The one that always sticks in my mind is the AJ Green, Andy Dalton draft, because you get AJ Green, and I just remember this is like the first time I ever watched the NFL draft, and I'm a Bengals fan, and they're just telling me you can't miss on it. You got what's his name, Mel Kiper, just sitting there, he's like you can't miss AJ Green, no flaws whatsoever, and just talking about him. And then the second round comes around the next day, and they're like, you got Andy Dalton, what a great draft, and everyone was telling us how great of a draft the Bengals had, and it turned out they made the postseason 5 straight years, so they're absolutely right. For some reason, that'll always stay in the memory. But I have not taken it too seriously as of late. Like, who was the first guy you mentioned that the Lions jumped us on?
Frank Ragnow. That was the year that we drafted Billy Price. Yeah, that was not a good draft. They just panic-picked Billy Price. Oof. That was a draft that we missed out on a lot of good players, too. So that one hurt.
So you guys were talking about odds on Betfred Sportsbook. This is who sponsors the show. You mentioned defensive lineman, and Big League Paul moved the line because that's what he does. He moves the needle. I was looking at it. So you can bet on odds to win, position of the Bengals player, first drafted position, as he talked about. And one of the options is running back at plus 1,100. Now, vice versa, you can also bet who gets picked in the 28th slot, which is when the Bengals are projected to pick. And Jahmyr Gibbs is like the third highest odds at plus 400. Third, I guess, shortest odds at plus 400. Don't bet Jahmyr Gibbs. If you're going to bet running back, then you just bit of a discrepancy there is all I'm saying.
Right.
Because Bijan Robinson is not going to get taken. He's plus 2,000. The one player that surprised me in that Betfred person who's going to get drafted 20th overall, Hendon Hooker's 50-1. You can bet on the 28th pick, which is currently the Bengals pick, that Hendon Hooker is going to get taken in the first round.
Why?
They're saying just in case the Bengals trade it.
Oh.
Because it's not who the Bengals will pick. It's who will get drafted 28th overall.
Maybe we take running back at plus 1,100. Bengals just keep trading back, and then they pick a running back with their first pick, but it's in like the 5th round.
Hey. Hey, listen, maybe I should take like just a little bit of money on the Bengals selecting a running back, just because I will be so mad if they do take a running back in the first round. It's a hedge of me losing my mind at the thought of getting Jahmyr Gibbs in the first round or Bijan Robinson.
It's not even a possibility in my mind. Well, maybe Bijan, but Jahmyr, that is the video that Thom is talking about where I'll be livid. I'll be upset.
We do got to get clips of you in case they get Jahmyr Gibbs in the first round. We got to put Thomas. Thomas, if you're watching the show, make sure you get a clip of this. Thomas is Casey's best man. He makes sure to quantify Thomas as if we don't know Thomas, as if we haven't met Thomas multiple times. He's like, Thomas, my best man. I hope that when you talk about us to your family or Thomas, you're like, Paul, my co-producer. Like, I hope you signify that, quantify him every time, too.
Every time.
My coworker, Reed Mouse. Yeah.
Now, I do that with Trace. Anytime I talk about Trace outside of work, I go like, my boss, Trace. Like, that's just how I quantify him, as if people don't know who I work for and yada, yada, yada. But, so, if you guys, we always end the show with a bet. So this is how we're going to end this show. If you had to put money, pull up Betfred Sportsbooks.
I got it.
If you had to put money on who the Bengals are going to draft 28th overall, they have a slew of names. Who are you going with? Dalton Kincaid plus 350, Michael Mayer plus 400, Cam Smith plus 350, Jahmyr Gibbs plus 400.
All of that assuming that the Bengals don't trade their 28th pick.
Correct. Right. Which,
saying,
I mean, how often the Bengals trade their first-round pick? Have they literally ever done it?
Yeah, no.
DeJuan Jones is plus 1,000, Case.
Plus 1,000. I like that. Probably not going to happen. I've already determined that's not going to happen in my mind, so I don't get disappointed when it happens. But I'm looking here. I'm kind of surprised, like, Brian Brzee at plus 1,500. There's a lot of good names on that list that I think have some value.
Can I take the field?
Can
I take a name not on this list?
No way. It's someone not on that list.
What are the lowest odds?
Trenton Simpson, Darnell Wright, and then Hendon Hooker and Osiris Torrance are 80-1, 80-1, and 50-1.
The Darnell Wright one seems very, very surprising, but I guess they think that he's going to go before he gets to us.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would see when I see stuff like that, I like to, whatever the highest odds are for a player on that list, I think it was like Cam Smith at like plus 350 or 300.
Yeah.
I'll put a unit on that, right? And
a unit. Unis.
And then whatever the winnings would be for that, I put 3 units, or I would cut the unit size or whatever my winnings in what would end up being 3 units if you hit on Cam Smith. I'd put another 3 units on another 3 players that I think, could potentially go, and just kind of like you're not going to win anything if you get the lowest odds player, but you would win a little something if it ended up being the plus 400 or plus 500 or whatever. I know that's probably not the best betting strategy, but it makes you feel like you won your pick, even though you're not winning as much as you would if you just picked the right guy initially. But
Paul, you gonna lay some money on any of these picks? And I'm gonna close the show right before Wheel of Lunch. Guys, I just sent you. I'm currently sending you a video.
Mayer at plus 400.
You want
DeJuan Jones plus 1,000. One of those two.
I'm gonna put money on DeJuan Jones. I'm trying to send you guys a clip on YouTube so we can
send it through Twitter.
Yeah, that's what
send the link through Twitter.
Not on Twitter, but it's there. It is currently sent. You guys didn't do a cherry on top, so I gotta get this video up. This is should have just got to you guys.
Yeah.
So my little nephew Dean sent this video to me, or my sister-in-law sent this video of my nephew Dean, who's playing baseball, and it is just the cutest video in the world. If you guys can somehow figure out a way to pull this up on our feed, but guys, we'll have chat power rankings on Friday. We're gonna test some other things out. Some other.
I don't know if we can do this, Reed. You might have to tweet it out.
Oh, gosh.
So we can get a link and then just delete it immediately.
I got something better.
Okay.
Go ahead and do Wheel of Lunch. And we'll have this
Wheel of Lunch. Throw Sonic up there.
Well, Sonic is up there. I've got a full board, but it's. Do we want to put anything extra or take anything off?
Oh. What is? Oh, Firehouse. No, that looks like a
solid list. We good?
That looks like a solid list.
All right. Here we go. Player formerly known as Mouse Cop clearly wants us to get Sonic once again.
We will go to Sonic today if it wins. We will go to Sonic.
That's what we always do. We always go to whatever it lands on at the end.
Playing with fire, Casey. Panda, see ya.
Man, third time's a charm though.
Went to Panda last night to drop off furniture that I sold.
Oh.
So,
parking lot deal?
Was a parking lot deal to someone who worked at Panda.
Uh-oh.
God, man, the list is getting kind of...
The list is getting thin. Oh, no. List is getting real thin.
Oh, no. Hey, Jolly's is on there. Don't discount Jolly.
Oh.
Oh, no.
We'll try again on Friday, Mouse Cop.
No Sonic.
No Sonic.
Mouse Cop, we're never going to Sonic. It will never hit on this wheel.
I don't know what I said that made everyone so mad there. Man, they were all fired up.
Is this Canes or Jollies?
Canes. Oh, no.
Burger King or Jollies?
Jollies or Burger King. Here we go. Whatever it lands on.
Give me Jollies. We're going to BK. Golly.
BK.
A Whopper's underrated. A Whopper's underrated.
Way. You rule. All right.
Yep, I couldn't get the video to. I was trying to get it to singular.
We can do it by Friday.
Yeah, we'll do it by Friday. It's a cute video. Youth-based. Kids are so cute.
It's evergreen.
It's evergreen. Guys, thank you.
Worst fast food in the game? Burger King. It is not the worst fast food.
That's a Ross take.
That's a terrible take.
Just a kid from Ross. Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
I mean, what can you expect? That's why he's not in the power rankings.
Oh. Those are some fighting words.
Guys, this has been Box Lunch. We'll be back maybe tomorrow. Definitely Friday. Regardless, we are presented by Betfred Sportsbook. We always have a blast. This is the chat show. I know I tease you guys a lot of the times, but it's all out of good. It comes from a good place. Just a reminder that the Reds stink and will always stink. I'll see ya. See you later.
Enjoy the Reds win.